Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. This is the 5th episode of the story, where Naruto is raised by Jiraya and Tsunade. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel after watching the video. So, let us begin. When Team Kurenai arrived at Sawa town, there was an atmosphere of grief, sorrow and fear impregnating the air. People barely talked to each other, minded their own business and focused on the matter at hand. Most of them were on the edge, as if they were expecting death itself to claim them or their loved ones at any moment. And given the situation they were in, such behavior was anything but unusual. But no, it felt like a whole new place. People would often happily and loudly greet each other. Children freely played in the streets. The townspeople behaved in a much carefree way, as if a huge burden had been relieved from their backs. Hell, even the sun appeared to shine even brighter than it did before. The three genins were now in a small grass field close to a river. Hinata and Haku were sparring against a bunch of Naruto clones, while the real Naruto was reading a book on Fuinjutsu. While he was progressing at a very slow pace, he was now capable of making his own explosive seals and storage seals of small capacity. Now he was trying for something a bit more advanced. Elemental seals description. As their names suggest, these kind of seals are closely tied to elemental ninjutsu, and thus a great mastery of said art is a prerequisite before attempting to create these seals. These seals can be as simple as storing a quantity of an element on a tag or a scroll, especially useful for water release or earth release users, to create a seal that will unleash a jutsu once activated. Components. 1. In the center of the seal, a kanji of the element in question. Fire, water, wind, earth, and lightning. 2. A standard containment matrix around it, see page 25 for reference. 3. A standard chakra filter, see page 31 for reference. The central kanji must be infused with chakra of the selected element. The containment matrix, chakra filter and other additions can be infused with non-elemental chakra. For instructions on how create more advanced elemental seals, please go to page 113. Other applications. Elemental seals can be also carved into weapons to make it easier to channel elemental chakra into them. Containment matrix won't be necessary, since unlike paper, the sturdier material weapons are made of will be enough to contain the seal. Though adding a chakra filter is recommended in order to stop enemies from using your weapon against you. It's also, the experience from Naruto's clones upon being destroyed flowing through his mind snapped him from his book. He lifted his eyes from the book, and looked at both his teammates, who were looking at him expectantly. Already? Wow, you guys are good. They didn't last even 5 minutes. Naruto then got up, and made a hand seal. 6 clones popped besides him. Maybe this will be a challenge worth your time. Actually, I believe that the real Naruto joining the fight would be a better challenge, don't you think? Haku suggested. Are you sure you can handle the real me? Alright, don't say I didn't warn you. Naruto retorted as he walked towards Haku and Hinata, while a clone took his place studying Fuinjutsu. Besides, Kurenai-sensei has started to teach me some low-level genjutsus, and I want somebody to practice them, the ice ninja explained. Why can't you practice with Hinata? Naruto asked. The Byakugan can see through most genjutsus save for the strongest ones, Naruto-kun, Hinata explained. And since I always fight with my Byakugan active, yeah, I get it, Naruto got into a fighting stance. Alright, let's go. The spar began, Haku and Hinata versus Naruto. While everything was allowed, all 3 fighters were holding back. Naruto didn't use more than 6 clones, Hinata only used normal gentle fist as opposed to her lightning-infused version, while Haku limited himself mostly to throwing senbons and casting genjutsus. The first genjutsu made Naruto lose perception of reality, making it as if the world started rocking, as if Naruto was on a ship during a sea storm, causing Naruto to lose balance and almost fall to the ground before he managed to dispel it. The second one caused vines to grow and wrap around Naruto. Despite knowing it was a genjutsu, he was unable to move until he dispelled it. The fight continued for a few more minutes, in which the group was unconsciously moving towards the river. And the spar finally came to an end when Naruto, in an attempt to fend Hinata, kicked her in the gut with more force than necessary, pushing her into the river. Eep! She squeaked upon falling into the cold water. Hinata! Naruto yelled, and quickly jumped into the river to save her. Fortunately, the river was very shallow, it only reached Naruto's knee, so there was no danger, but Hinata fell on her back, and got all her clothes soaked. Hinata! I'm so sorry. Naruto mentioned as he grabbed Hinata's hand, and helped her out of the river. Hinata's hands are so soft. Wait, why I'm thinking this? It's okay, Naruto-kun, this kind of things happen sometimes, the Hyuga aired then looked at her dripping clothes. But my clothes are all wet, I think I can be of help. Please give me your coat, Hinata-san, Haku asked. Hinata nodded, removed her coat and gave it to Haku. Haku placed a hand close to the coat, closed his eyes, and focused his chakra. The water started to slowly leave the coat in the form of tiny droplets, and gathered on Haku's hand while merging into a big watery sphere. After dropping the water ball on the ground, Haku repeated the process. This may take a few minutes. You better stay in the sun while I work, Haku advised. While Haku worked to dry Hinata's coat, they sat down against an old fallen tree. Again, sorry for getting you all soaked, Hinata, Naruto asserted. I told you that it's nothing, Naruto-kun. It's not like you hurt me or anything, thankfully. Still, I better hold back a bit more next time we spar. I don't want anybody getting hurt unnecessarily. Naruto didn't realize that Hinata's wet shirt was clinging to her body, revealing her figure. Upon realizing what he was doing, Naruto blushed a bit, and quickly turned his head back. Naruto-kun? It just must be cold with all those wet clothes. Do you want me to bring you a blanket? Naruto quickly offered. Hokage, thank you. What the hell is happening to me? Naruto thought as he walked towards his backpack. After hours of running and leaping through endless grass fields, Kurenai saw a town in the distance, and decided that it would make a decent spot to rest a bit before continuing her journey. Her stomach was starting to complain through loud grumbles, and her legs were starting to get a little sore. Yes, it was time for a little break. However, as the town came close to her sight, the genjutsu mistress couldn't help but feel that there was something wrong. For once, the ambient noise didn't change as she was getting closer, which would mean that there was nobody there. This assumption was supported by the lack of farmers working on the rice fields surrounding the town. And as she came closer, she saw that her fears were indeed a reality. The town was a complete ruin. Half the houses had been burned to the ground, while the other half sustained heavy damage. There were broken glasses and pieces of wood scattered everywhere, alongside farming tools. The pools of dried blood didn't go unnoticed either. Still, there was something missing. Because, despite the overwhelming evidence of the town being victim of an attack or incursion, Kurenai guessed it happened between 3 and 6 days ago, there were no visible bodies. If the attackers were a group of bandits like those her students fended off the day before, the Konoha Jonin simply couldn't imagine that they would care about the bodies. Suddenly, a noise snapped Kurenai from her thoughts. A kunai appeared on her hand, as she immediately turned around and adopted a fighting stance. Who's there? The Jonin asked, not expecting anybody stupid enough to answer that question. And indeed, nobody answered. But whoever was stalking Kurenai made a sound while they tried to move. That's all what the Jonin needed to pinpoint their location. Silent as the night breeze, the red-eyed woman burst into one of the less damaged houses, almost tearing the door from its hinges. Please don't hurt me. Kurenai immediately dropped her fighting stance when she saw a middle-aged woman, wearing ragged clothes, sitting on a corner cowering before her. While she lowered her kunai, she didn't drop her guard just in case it was a trap. Calm down, I'm not going to hurt you, Kurenai walked towards the woman, who continued trembling. My name is Kurenai Yuhi, I'm a ninja from Konohagakure. Who are you? The middle-aged woman finally dared to make eye contact with Kurenai, and her body stopped shaking. My name is Keikimi, the woman stuttered. Aren't you going to hurt me? I believe I answered that question already. Kurenai helped the woman on her feet. Can you tell me what happened? Upon seeing how shaken the woman was, she added, take your time to catch your breath if you need it. Kurenai picked a chair, and motioned Kimi to sit down. The jonin even shared some of her meal with her, thinking that at least a partially full stomach would be of help. After a few minutes, Kimi was relaxed enough to talk. It started happening a few months ago. Bandit gangs multiplied like rats at first. They usually ambushed our caravans or those who traveled to other villages or to the capital, but then they started coming to our town, demanding goods and money, and sometimes they even kidnapped some of us. The mayor decided it was enough and gathered everybody to stand up against them. It was a mistake when I came out. Everybody was gone and our beautiful town is in ruins. Kurenai listened intently to the woman's words. The situation was extremely similar to what was happening in Sawa town. For some reason, Kurenai thought that this was something more than a mere loose gangs. The more reason to reach the capital and contact the lord of the land. How did you survive? The red-eyed woman asked. My husband hid me in the basement with our 2 grandkids. We spent there the past 2 days. He came out to see it was safe. Then I saw you and thought that you came here to finish us off, the woman sobbed. Calm down. Like I said before, I'm not going to hurt you. Now, this is what you're going to do. There's another town a few kilometers to the southwest named Sawa town. I know that it's dangerous, but I want you to pack whatever you can, pick your grandchildren and go to that town. That town is under the protection of my students, so you should be safe there, Kurenai reassured the older woman. But it's too dangerous to travel these lands alone, the woman protested. Listen, this town has been ravaged, so no bandit would have any interest in this area. Besides, there are too many open fields to set an ambush. If you set off in an hour, you should arrive at Sawa town before nighttime. Oh, okay, guess that it's too dangerous to remain here, the woman cried. Wait. Can you come with us? You're a ninja, right? Unfortunately, I can't. I'm going to go to the capital and ask the feudal lord why he let so many bandit gangs to run unchecked through his lands, Kurenai replied, sounding apologetic. I see, guess that I'll have to be brave, at least for my grandkids. The woman wiped the tears from her eyes, and looked at Kurenai with a heartfelt smile. Still, thanks for your help, Kurenai-san. You're welcome. Now, if you excuse me, I need to resume my trip. A few hours later, Kurenai felt a tinge of relief when the walls of the capital of the land of rice fields appeared in her sight. She hoped that it wouldn't take too long for her to have an audience with the lord. But, just as it happened with the town she stopped a few hours ago, she felt that there was something very wrong going on. It was the same, silently eerie atmosphere that was present before arriving to the destroyed town. But it made no sense. Sure, those little towns were easy prey for bandits, with their lack of an organized and well-trained defense force. But the capital was a walled city protected by literally hundreds of soldiers. There's no way it could have befell to the same fate as the town she had been before. Hell, even if all the bandit gangs of the country joined forces under a single banner, they wouldn't be able to lay siege to the city. But the evidence took no time in presenting itself. As she came closer, she could see the gates of the walls teared from its hinges. Every one of Kurenai's instincts told her to turn back and flee, that only death awaited for her in that city. But there were too many questions that needed an answer. That, and she was a jonin, for crying out loud. She didn't get the rank for quitting when things got ugly. Entering the city, she saw her fears confirmed once again. Most of the buildings were either reduced to rubble, or extremely damaged. An intense smell of copper and burned wood invaded her nostrils. Debris, rocks, and broken glass was scattered across the ground. Pools of dried blood everywhere. But, unlike the little town, there were copious amounts of corpses littering the destroyed streets. She couldn't help but having a brief flashback of Konoha right after the Kyuubi was sealed. Only this was even worse, since plenty of people survived the Demon Fox's rampage. There was nobody here but dead bodies. Still, remembering that she found a survivor on the destroyed town, Kurenai decided that maybe it would be a good idea to scout the city a little, and maybe with some luck she could find somebody who explained her what the hell was going on with this country. Why would somebody attack this country? The land of the rice fields is a nation of farms. It's not a rich country, and possesses little strategical value. This makes no sense, Kurenai thought as she inspected the ruined city. But what's most worrying is that somebody managed to launch an attack of this scale and keep it secret from the rest of the world. Hokage-sama needs to hear of this. Suddenly, a noise. While the Konoha Jonin hoped it was a survivor, her instincts kicked in, and a kunai appeared on her right hand. Well, look what we have here. Kurenai was a bit startled by the voice, definitely male. Some Konoha scum getting her pretty nose in our turf. Let's teach her what happens when you wander too far away from home, another voice added. You know, I'm kinda glad that she showed up. This scavenging job was pretty boring, a third one said. Looking around, Kurenai managed to track the voices to the top of a half-destroyed building. There were 4 men, wearing a gray and black camouflage uniform. Their faces were covered by black balaclavas, which had a small metal plate on their forehead with a symbol the Genjutsu mistress was unable to see. It was obvious that these uniformed men were ninjas belonging to a village, but she was unable to identify which based on the clothes alone. The black and gray-clad ninjas jumped from the building, and landed on the ground, surrounding Kurenai. Now she could see that the symbol on their balaclavas was a musical note, a quaver to be more precise. Kurenai had no idea there was a ninja village with such a symbol. A Quaveranko told me that Orochimaru was in the process of creating a ninja village somewhere, whose name was Otogakurido. These ninja belong to this village? Who are you? Kurenai asked. I didn't know that there was a ninja village in the land of the rice fields. First of all, one of the ninja replied. We are the ones that make the questions here. But regarding what you said, well, things change. Yeah, there wasn't a ninja village, but now there is. It was your village who caused this destruction? Kurenai asked again. What did we tell you about asking questions, you Konoha whore? You're in our territory, so now you're coming with us. Our boss will have a field day with you, another of the mysterious ninja shouted as she grabbed her upper arm. Kurenai's reflexes immediately kicked in, and she quickly stabbed her kunai on the hand grabbing her arm. The man yelled in pain as he grabbed his injured limb and jumped back. His 3 companions lunged at Kurenai, who jumped back to put some distance between herself and her attackers. What do you plan to do with these lands? Kurenai asked as he parried several kunai swipes from 2 of her attackers. Dead people have no business in asking pointless questions, another ninja said as he threw a salvo of shurikens. The ninja stars reached their mark, but in a poof of smoke, the Konoha Jonin was replaced by a log. Kurenai appeared behind the ninja who tossed the shurikens, and kicked him hard in the back. You're some Balyuri Oto ninjas, right? Do you serve Orochimaru? 2 of the ninjas visibly flinched, making Kurenai realize that she was right. Still, that wasn't enough confirmation of her doubts. And she still had more questions. Come on, she's just 1, and we're 4. We should be able to beat her, one of the ninjas yelled in frustration. Let's attack her from different angles at the same time, another suggested. You know, shouting your tactics at your enemy is not the mark of a good ninja, Kurenai said, shaking her head. Whoever trained you did a very poor job. If you got any training, that's it. Shut up. Kurenai thought about creating a couple shadow clones, but deemed it unnecessary. Despite being attacked from 4 different sides at the same time, she had no trouble fending off their amateurish swipes. This is getting annoying, you know. And I believe that my questions are rather simple. The Jonin jumped back a few meters while she makes several hand seals. But if you're not going to talk, then I have no reason to prolong this charade. Demonic illusion, underwater burial. They didn't know how, but all of a sudden the ruined city was transported to the bottom of the ocean. The attacking ninjas clutched their necks as they were unable to breathe and a torrent of water invaded their lungs. In a couple minutes, all 4 ninja lost consciousness due to the lack of oxygen. Meanwhile, Kurenai watched how her genjutsu made the balaclava-wearing ninja writhe in agony until they stopped moving altogether. The Konoha Jonin decided to inspect them and see if they had something that identified them, or at least identified the mysterious village they hailed from. However, her search turned out fruitless. All these men had were kunai, shuriken, some paper bombs, ration bars, and one of them was carrying a small first aid kit. Damn my luck, Kurenai cursed. Well, maybe I should carry one of these guys back to the village. Maybe Anko may be able to make him talk before this snowballs into a bigger problem. But then again, no visible ninjutsu, mediocre taijutsu and skill in armed combat, and absolutely zero aptitude to dispel or even recognize a genjutsu. If these guys are an example of the ninjas this new village can produce, then there's nothing we should worry about, Kurenai mused to herself. Oh, don't judge all of us based on the performance of our lowest members, a new voice startled the Jonin, who turned around and saw another Oto ninja. This one was wearing the same clothes as the other 4, except he was also wearing a dark gray light body armor, similar to Konoha's flak jackets. Kurenai deduced that he was either a Chunin or a Jonin. You made quite a number on my men. But then again, they should know better than messing with a Jonin, right, Kurenai Yuhi? Kurenai frowned, and stared at the Oto ninja's eyes. How do you know who I am? Anybody who bothered to read our bingo book could identify Konoha's top genjutsu specialist. Those bright red eyes are a dead giver, the Oto officer pointed at Kurenai's face. And you think you're tough enough to take on me alone? The genjutsu mistress slipped into a fighting stance, ready for another short combat. The Oto ninja smirked under his mask. Who said I was going to fight you alone? The earth started to shake, in an almost imperceptible way first, more noticeable with each second. With a loud crash, one of the half-destroyed buildings collapsed completely, and from the cloud of smoke, a massive greenish-gray snake appeared, its jaws wide open, ready to gobble the red-eyed Jonin. Kurenai managed to shake off her shock and jump away just a second before the gigantic slithering reptile could get her, its fangs sinking into the concrete floor. Still, the gigantic snake gave her no room to breathe, and lunged at her again. This time, Kurenai jumped above its head, landing just on its neck. The Jonin turned around and tossed a volley of kunai and shuriken at the back of the giant reptile's head. The snake hissed in pain, but the attack didn't appear to cause much damage. A painful flying kick to the side reminded Kurenai that the giant snake wasn't her only opponent. The Oto official started to make hand seals. Several crescent-shaped blades made of chakra appeared above him. Flying decapitating blades. The chakra blades shot themselves at Kurenai, who dodged them while doing a few backflips. 2 of them managed to narrowly hit her, producing a couple of superficial scratches. Taking advantage of Kurenai's predicament, the snake lunged forward once again, its jaws ready to devour the Jonin. She knew that if she was going to deal with 2 strong enemies, she should be in 2 places at the same time. She formed a hand seal. Shadow Clone Jutsu. A single clone appeared from a cloud of smoke, and both original and clone jumped in opposite directions to avoid the snake's onslaught. The snake decided to chase the clone, so Kurenai went after the Oto ninja. She started to make more hand seals. Earth release, field of stone blades. Kurenai slammed her hands into the ground. Multiple huge spikes started to emerge from the ground. The Oto ninja jumped backwards multiple times to avoid them. When the spikes also started to appear behind him, he decided to jump to the roof of a nearby ruined building. Meanwhile, Kurenai's hand flied through hand seals once again. Earth release, flying piercing stone blades. The stone spikes that Kurenai created before left the ground and floated menacingly, pointing at the Oto ninja's direction, who was getting ready to dodge or deflect them. Kurenai made a hand seal and the flying spikes turned 90 degrees, and flied in the giant snake's direction. The snake, who was still chasing the clone, didn't realize what was going on until several spikes sank into its flesh. The snake hissed in pain, and disappeared in a cloud of smoke. A summoned snake. Now there's no doubt that this is Orochimaru's doing. Now this land is under his control. That means that my genin and the people from Sawa town are in great danger. I have to go back as soon as possible. Now I have all the answers I wanted. This village you belong to was formed by Orochimaru, just like our intelligence report said, though we weren't aware of its location, or its existence for that matter, Kurenai deduced, while staring at the Oto ninja. You're a smart girl, aren't you? The Oto ninja chuckled. But I obviously can't let you escape with such a sensitive information about us. More camo-wearing, masked ninja appeared from the roofs of the semi-destroyed buildings. Kurenai couldn't deal with so many. Fortunately, she didn't need to. Were you going to let me go in the first place? The genjutsu mistress asked. No, the Oto officer shrugged. But now I have extra motivation to do so. Well, in that case, Kurenai started to sink into the ground. Good luck telling Orochimaru or whoever happens to be your immediate boss how you lost a spy. No. The Oto ninja panicked as he ran through hand seals. Underground shredding blades. The Oto ninja slammed his hands on the ground, creating several semi-buried chakra blades, which moved towards Kurenai, cutting through the ground as if they were shark fins cutting through the water surface. However, Kurenai disappeared before the chakra blades could slash her. Search the area, she can't be too far, the Oto officer shouted. Find her. Find her and kill her. Leaving the ruined capital behind, Kurenai dashed back to Sawa town. She didn't care about being pursued. She was on an land controlled by the enemy. Hostile ninjas could appear anywhere, but she was too busy thinking about what would be of her genin if she didn't get back in time. Naruto, Hinata, Haku, please, stay safe. A day later, at Sawa town. Boy, I hope Kurenai-sensei comes back soon, because this is getting pretty boring, Naruto groaned, both his hands behind his neck. Naruto, Hinata, and Haku had already finished their morning training, so they decided to take a walk. The first 2 days they had spent quite a few time exploring the town and getting to know their people, but Sawa was so small that such time was enough to see it completely. Not that a farming town was terribly interesting to begin with. I know that things have been pretty quiet since we beat those bandits. But still, this beats D-rank missions any time of the day, Haku commented. Besides, I am sure Kurenai-sensei will be back soon. She said she wouldn't take more than 3 days to arrange whatever was necessary to stop this bandit attacks, Hinata added. And all this spare time isn't that bad either. Haku then looked at Naruto. You could use it to continue your Fuinjutsu training, you know. I know. But I burned through my supplies faster than I thought, and I'm not somebody who can learn just through theory alone. Though I'm making some progress with my wind seal, Naruto said while walking. What is that, Naruto-kun? The Hyuga asked. It's a seal I make. It's kinda like the explosive tag, only that instead of exploding, the seal releases a gust. Well, it's not that strong, but I'm not that good at sealing yet. Interesting. Would you be able to create seals based on other elements? Haku asked. Well, yeah, but first I would need to master said element, you know? Explosive tags are pretty easy, since it's just to create an explosion with chakra, but for elemental seals, you actually need to infuse the seal with elemental chakra. So for the time being I'm just stuck with wind seals, Naruto explained. And maybe Haku-kun and I could help? Hinata offered. We do have different elemental chakras, so maybe we could help you make lightning and ice seals. Naruto pondered Hinata's words, as his mouth curved into a smile. Hey, that's pretty smart. Yeah, I guess I could do most of the work, then show you how you can infuse the chakra into the seal. We have to try that when we get back at Konoha. Suddenly, the group saw a very distressed farmer running into them. Ninja-sama, the farmer, a man in his 40s, shouted as he stumbled towards them. "Thanks goodness that I found you." Haku helped the man on his feet. "Calm down. Tell us what happened." "A trio of punks attacked us while we were working on the fields. I managed to escape, but I don't know what happened to the others. Please help us." "A trio of punks? Were they bandits?" Naruto asked. "No, they didn't look like bandits. I think they were ninjas. They were wearing headband with a symbol just like yours, and had some freaky powers." Hinata frowned. "Other ninja? If that's the case, then this shouldn't be just a C-rank mission. Were you attacked by ninjas before?" "No, just bandits, like those you beat up the other day, I swear." "Come on guys, why are we still here? These people needs our help now." Naruto was shaking his fist. "But we don't know how strong these ninja are. If we aren't careful, we may walk to our deaths." Haku countered. "I'm not going to let these people to die." Naruto then turned at the farmer. "Take us to the place in which you were attacked." Haku sighed. Even if he really didn't want to engage enemy ninja without any kind of intel on them, he knew that there was no way to convince his blonde teammate to stay. Better go all together, than let Naruto go alone. "Alright, Naruto-kun, I will go with you then." "Hinata?" The Hyuga merely nodded, and they headed to the rice fields. A few minutes later, they arrived at the rice field. It was apparently empty, save for a trio of farmers, to each other, sitting in the middle of the field. Of thank Kami, they looked to be alive. The farmer who asked for the genin's help rushed to untie them, but he was stopped by Naruto. "What are you doing? Don't rush in. This smells like a trap." "Hinata?" Hinata nodded, and activated her Byakugan, and inspected the fields. There are several explosive tags hidden among the rice plants, forming a circle around the hostages. They're set so if one explodes, it will trigger a chain of explosions that more than likely will kill the hostages. Naruto rubbed his chin. "That sounds as if they were expecting us, over there." Hinata pointed to the right of the tied farmers. "There is a trio of ninjas hidden among the rice plants. Those are some impressive eyes, girl. If I knew that we were going to face an Hyuga, we would have prepared a more elaborated trap," a male voice said as the trio of ninjas revealed themselves. There were 2 boys and a girl. One of the boys had bandages covering most of his face, leaving only his left eye uncovered. He was wearing large poncho with long sleeves, a camouflage gray scarf, a straw raincoat protruding from the back of his scarf, and a metallic gauntlet on his right arm. His back was hunched, which made him look smaller than he actually was. The other boy had spiky, black hair and dark eyes. He was wearing a beige shirt with 2 black stripes and 3 prints of the kanji for death down the front, and a camouflage gray scarf. The only girl of the trio had very long black hair, almost reaching down to the ground, tied by a violet ribbon right near the end, and black eyes. She was wearing a pale green vest somewhat similar to a flak jacket, and camouflage gray vest and pants. "Who the hell are you?" Naruto asked, while pointing a finger at them. "Actually, we should be the ones asking the questions, you loudmouth, given that you're in our territory," the boy with the spiky black hair replied. "Your territory? But the land of the rice fields doesn't have a ninja village," Hinata said. "Let me enlighten you, then," the bandaged boy spoke. "First, yes, there is a ninja village here. And second, this is no longer the land of the rice fields, but the land of sound, since it belongs to Otogakure now." "Wait, but why are you attacking these farmers then? If you're a ninja of these lands, you should protect them instead," Hinata cried. "Enough with your stupid questions already," the raven-haired girl interrupted Hinata. "Dosu, Zaku, I think we should kill this trio of meddlers right now." "Agree, Kin," the bandaged boy, Dosu, replied. "Come on, let's go." As the trio of mysterious ninja dashed towards them, the Konoha genin slipped into their usual fighting stances. "We need to drive the fight away from the hostages, or else may risk activating the explosive tags," Hinata noted. Her two male companions nodded. "I'll create a shadow clone to remove the paper bombs and release the hostages," Naruto whimpered at them. Once they were close enough, Zaku stopped, and aimed his hold palms towards the Konoha ninja. Decapitating air waves. Zaku shot from his palms an air blast at the Konoha genin. Naruto flied through hand seals. "So, another wind user, huh? Let's have a competition then." Wind release, great breakthrough. Naruto waved his arms in a cross, producing a powerful gust of wind, which clashed against Zaku's air blasts. "My turn," Haku said as he also formed hand seals. "By the way, thanks for choosing a battleground that gives me so much terrain advantage." Ice release, 1,000 needles of death. Using the water of the rice fields, Haku created multiple spikes of ice, which flied towards the trio of sound ninjas. Unfortunately for him, Dosu was already preparing a counterattack. Vibrating sound blast. Dosu made a punching motion towards the incoming ice needles. Dosu's sonic attack shattered Haku's ice spikes before they could land on their intended targets. After that, he held his right arm in front of his face, and dashed at Haku. However, Hinata intercepted Dosu before he could get to the ice ninja, and attempted to hit him with her gentle fist strikes. If the rice fields granted Haku a boon thanks to his water and ice jutsus, it was a liability to Hinata, since she couldn't use her lightning jutsus without a huge risk of hurting her teammates or the hostages, or worse, set off the explosive tags, and was forced to rely on the normal gentle fist that she was far from proficient. Dosu dodged, or either parried with his gauntlet Hinata's palm strikes, until he saw an opening, and tried to punch the Hyuga in the face. Hinata, displaying her flexibility, bent backwards to dodge the hit. However, after doing so, she was hit by a wave of vertigo and nausea, making her fall on her knees and vomit. "Hinata!" Naruto yelled, while still trading wind blasts with Haku. "What?" the Hyuga weakly said. "Booty, you dodged my attack?" "Yeah, sure. But you didn't, nor couldn't, dodge the sound waves generated by my melody gauntlet," Dosu smirked under his bandages. "Haku, defend Hinata!" Naruto shouted, in an almost commanding tone. Haku nodded, and made multiple hand seals. Water release, water wall. The water around Hinata started to rise until the Hyuga was completely hidden, quickly forming a swirling water barrier around her. That barrier will last about a minute or so. Let's hope she can use that time to heal herself. Unfortunately for Haku, while he was thinking about Hinata, he didn't see Kin's flying kick until it was too late, and the ice ninja was sent back flying a few meters, landing on his back, making a splash. "Sorry, sister, no time to stop to smell the roses," the raven-haired Kunoichi mocked as she pulled out a few senbons from her pouch. "Actually, I'm a boy," Haku repeated for the 1,000th time, getting up and also grabbing some senbons as well. Kin raised an eyebrow. "Really? Oh well, it doesn't matter, given that you will be a corpse soon enough." With Hinata weakened and hidden under a shield of water, and Kin engaging Haku, Dosu decided to lend Zaku a hand. Naruto, however, did notice the bandaged ninja dashing at him. Like he did with Hinata, he swinged his metallic arm at Naruto. However, the blonde already saw the effect it had on her female teammate, and knew that dodging it wouldn't be enough. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Multiple clones appeared in front of the blonde Jinchuriki as he jumped backwards. Most of them were dispelled by Dosu's sonic waves. "Damn it, 2 versus 1 with such destructive wide-area attacks, my shadow clones won't be of much use. Guess that I'll have to call somebody sturdier than a shadow clone." Naruto bit his thumb, and formed 5 hand seals before slamming his hands on the ground. Summoning Jutsu. From a cloud of smoke appeared a toad roughly the size of large adult. It had dark green skin with numerous warts, a dull yellow belly, and yellow eyes. The toad was wearing a red samurai armor that was one size too small. Gamakazu is the strongest toad I can summon, yet hope he will be enough to deal with these assholes. The armored toad looked around, inspecting the surroundings, before taking a look at the expectant Dosu and Zaku, and lastly to Naruto. Naruto? Gamakazu, I need your help dealing with these two punks. Can I count on you? Naruto asked, almost pleading. The toad smiled. Sure. That good-for-nothing Jiraya hardly summons me anymore, so I'm more than eager to fight again. The toad clenched his fists, and adopted a fighting stance. Zaku laughed uproariously. Oh ho ho, this so good. You think that summoning a fat frog is going to be of any help against us? Gamakazu snarled. First of all, I'm not a frog but a toad, remember that. And second, let's see if you laugh so much when I tear your arms and force you to swallow them. Naruto, let's go. Naruto jumped on the back of Gamakazu, and leaped into the air above the two sound genin. Water release, water bullet. The toad's jowl puffed out, and released several watery blasts. Zaku smirked confidently, not impressed by the toad's boast or attack. He raised his hands upwards. Decapitating airwaves, once again, Zaku's palms released a concentrated blast of air and sound that stopped the Gamakazu's water bullets. However, just like Naruto had planned, doing so left him completely wide open. Forming a hand seal, he created multiple shadow clones that descended upon him. Dosu, however, was ready to fend off the attack. He aimed his melody gauntlet at the clones. Vibrating sound blast. Dosu's sonic waves poofed most of Naruto's clones. But unfortunately for him, neither his nor Zaku's attacks managed to hit either Gamakazu or Naruto, and the blonde was about to capitalize on this. He threw a shuriken while making several hand seals as fast as he could. Shadow Clone Shuriken Jutsu. The single shuriken flying down suddenly turned into 3 dozens. Without time to counterattack, the two male sound genin were forced to jump backwards in order to avoid the rain of metallic death. While Dosu managed to use his melody gauntlet to parry the shuriken he couldn't dodge, Zaku wasn't so lucky, and ended up with a few shurikens hammered into his arms and shoulders. Zaku. Are you okay? The bandaged boy asked. Rayarg. You asshole. Zaku screamed as he removed a shuriken from his arm. You will pay for that. Meanwhile, Haku was still fighting Kin. Senbons flew in every direction, some hitting their target, others hitting each other, and others missing. Haku managed to get a lucky shot, and 3 senbons lodged into Kin's right shoulder. She'd have to remove them if she wanted to use that arm. That would give Haku a window of opportunity to form some hand seals and use his powerful ninjutsu. However, when he was about to form the first seal, his hands phased into each other. What? Haku slurred, as he tried to form more hand seals, unsuccessfully. Then, looking around, he realized that there was something very wrong. Everything looked extremely blurry and shaky. He tried to move, and he nearly fell on his face. What's happening? You just fell victim of my genjutsu, sucker. Have fun trying to fight like that, Kin smirked at him. Haku tried to make a hand seal to dispel the genjutsu, but once again his hands phased through each other. Though what in reality was happening was that he wasn't even brining his hands together, the genjutsu was messing up with his eyesight and depth perception, among other things. Any last words, pretty boy? 8 trigrams, 32 palms. Upon hearing that, Kin paled and turned around, only to see an enraged Hinata ready to hit her. She wanted to block the attack, but it was too late. 2 strikes. 4 strikes. 8 strikes. 16 strikes. 32 strikes. The devastating attack left Kin nearly drained of all her chakra, and fell on her knees, pained and exhausted. Ignoring the fallen sound kunoichi, Hinata rushed towards Haku. She disrupted his chakra to dispel the genjutsu he was under, then she applied her mystical palm jutsu to heal his injuries and restore some of her energy. "Are you okay?" the ice ninja asked. Hinata smiled at him. "Shouldn't I be the one asking that?" "I guess so. But yeah, I'm feeling better now." "Thanks. I should thank you too for providing me with the cover I needed to recover myself. Shall we help Naruto-kun? He's fighting against 2 enemies. Oh, and Naruto-kun's clone has released the hostages already. There's no more need to hold back." Haku's mouth formed an uncharacteristical smirk. If that's the case, Haku started to form hand seals while looking at Naruto duking out with Dosu and Zaku. Ice release, certain kill ice spears. The water around Haku and Dosu started to freeze into large, sharp spikes. The 2 sound genin managed to jump in opposite directions before being impaled by the freezing spears. Dosu released more sound waves that easily shattered the ice, but upon doing so, he realized that Haku and Hinata had rejoined Naruto, and that Kin was lying on her back, unconscious, all while he had been separated from Zaku. "Give up already, you're outnumbered, and your hostages have escaped long time ago," Naruto angrily shouted, pointing a finger at Dosu. The bandaged ninja frowned. On one side, he couldn't help but agree with the blonde. On the other, this was his group's first confrontation with other ninjas. He couldn't allow their first fight to end in defeat. Otogakure had no place for weaklings. However, there was somebody who was about to make that decision for him. "I've already seen enough," a new voice said, as somebody landed near the Oto ninjas with a loud splash. It was a tall man with silver, shoulder-length hair, who was wearing a gray and black camouflage shirt and pants, and a bandana-style forehead protector with a quiver on it. A Fuma shuriken was strapped to his back. This man was somebody who Haku didn't recognize, but Naruto and Hinata did, despite not seeing him for more than 4 years. "Mizuki-sensei?" Hinata was taken aback by his appearance. "What? No, it's our sensei, you bitch!" Zaku shouted at her. "Zaku, I think that this Konoha kids used to go to the academy in which Mizuki-sensei was a teacher before he joined our village," Dosu explained. He then smirked under his bandages. "What are the chances of such encounter to happen? It's a small world indeed. You traitorous scum. Not only you defected from Konoha, but stole the scroll of seals. Just wait until I tell Dad." Naruto's blood was boiling with anger. Mizuki smirked as well. "For such thing to happen, first you'll have to get out of here alive, which I'll make sure you don't, demon brat." Mizuki then turned at Dosu and Zaku. "You 3 have done enough already. Get Kin and return to the base." Zaku tried to protest. "But don't question my orders," Mizuki yelled, making Zaku flinch. "I don't need your help to deal with these trio of brats. In fact, I've been dying for something like this to happen. I never had the chance to test in a real combat the power Orochimaru-sama granted me." Dosu picked Kin's unconscious body, and alongside Zaku, fled the scene, leaving their sensei alone against the Konoha genin, who slipped into fighting stances. An unsealed Hyuga, an ice release user, and the Jinchuriki of the Kyubi, Mizuki smiled evilly as a pattern of chains of crescent-shaped marks started to spread around his skin. "If I manage to bring you to Orochimaru-sama, my reward will be even greater." Mizuki stood in front of the 3 teens, and a toad, with a wide smile on his lips. An unsealed Hyuga, an ice release user, and the Jinchuriki of the Kyubi. Mizuki smiled evilly as a pattern of crescent-shaped marks started to spread around his skin. "If I manage to bring you to Orochimaru-sama, my reward will be even greater." Hinata gasped upon seeing such thing happening. His chakra. "What about it?" "It's like he has a second type of chakra coursing through his body," Hinata mumbled. "An overwhelmingly dark chakra. What you're seeing, little Hyuga, is nothing but a fraction of Orochimaru-sama's power. Power that will wipe you out like leaves in the wind." "Shut up. It's us who are going to kick your sorry traitorous ass." And when we do, we will make you return the scroll you stole 4 years ago. Naruto shouted, pointing an accusatory finger at the former Konoha teacher. The silver-haired ninja chuckled. Ah, Naruto, loudmouth as ever. Guess that nobody gave you a much-needed beating to curb that aggressive personality of yours. Fortunately for you, I'll be more than happy to oblige. Mizuki said as he cracked his fingers. I'd like to see you try. Naruto then jumped at Gamikazu's back again. Gamikazu, let's go. Alright. The toad then leapt into mid-air once again. Meanwhile, Naruto's hands ran through hand seals. Water release, water bullets. Wind release, cyclone vortex. Mizuki jumped back in time to avoid the cyclone and the water missiles aimed at him, which made a huge splash upon impacting the shallow water. The former Konoha ninja made a hand seal. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 2 Mizukis appeared besides the original. Now I can give all of you the proper attention you deserve. The Mizuki clones tossed their Fuma Shuriken while the original made some hand seals. Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu. The 2 Fuma Shuriken turned into 2 dozen, much to the Konoha ninja's horror. Haku flew through hand seals as well. Ice release, ice barrier. A wall of ice rose from the water, protecting the genin from the giant metallic stars. Even if none of the Fuma Shuriken touched them, the wall was shattered by the giant steel stars. But Mizuki and his clones had no intention of giving them any time to breathe, and were preparing more jutsu. Earth release, earth dragon bullets. A dragon head made of dirt, mud and stone rose from the ground, opened its jaws, and fired multiple mud projectiles at the Konoha genin. Fire release, fire dragon blast. The Mizuki clones released a stream of fire from their mouths, igniting the mud projectiles. Haku was going through hand seals once again. Water release, water wall. A watery barrier was erected in front of the Konoha genin and the toad, blocking most of the projectiles but failing to stop some of them. Fortunately, Gamikazu would take care of that. Water release, water bullets. Gamikazu's jowl puffed out, releasing a barrage of water missiles that clashed against Mizuki's fire attack, nullifying it completely. Come on, we have to get to him before he pelts us with more jutsu. Come on, Hinata. Naruto rushed forward, with the Hyuga behind. Haku-kun, provide us with some cover. Hinata asked. Haku nodded, and his hands went through more hand seals. Ice release, 1,000 ice needles of death. Though not as much as 1,000, Haku managed to create quite a few ice senbon, which flew at Mizuki. The Sound Ninja and his clones tried to deflect the ice senbon with their kunai, but some of the ice projectiles found their mark. The wounded clones were dispelled, and the real Mizuki was left with a few ice needles piercing multiple parts of his body. Meanwhile, Naruto and Hinata were already at a close combat distance. Shadow Clone Jutsu. A dozen Narutos appeared from clouds of smoke, and leapt at the silver-haired missing Nin. Even wounded, Mizuki was more than able to fend off the clones' onslaught, showing an impressive display of skills and strength. However, he was so focused on fighting the blonde army that he completely forgot about the Hyuga heiress. 8 trigrams, 32 palms. Hinata quickly dashed towards Mizuki, ready to strike. 2 strikes. 4 strikes. 8 strikes. Unfortunately, before she could deliver 16 strikes, Mizuki grabbed her by her wrist the moment she was about to strike him, and with an impressive force, he tossed her against a couple of Naruto clones, which were poofed immediately upon being hit. Hinata. Are you okay? The original Naruto quickly went to check if Hinata wasn't hurt, and to help her on her feet. Why yes, Naruto-kun. He's way stronger than he looks. That second chakra also increases his speed and strength. Fortunately, I closed some of his tenketsu. The Hyuga explained. Naruto smiled brightly. Well done, Hinata. Let's see if you can land all 32 strikes next time. Like hell I'm going to let a next time happen, you dumb brats. Mizuki angrily yelled. The black marks on his skin started to glow with a fiery light, almost as if the markings were made of fire, and spread around the rest of his body. When the glow vanished, Mizuki had turned into a completely new being. I didn't think I'd have to resort to the advanced level of the cursed seal, but if you insist on making me mad, in his advanced cursed seal from, Mizuki had grown slightly larger and more muscular, to the point that the sleeves of his shirt were completely torn by his now thicker arms. His skin was now maroon, and his hair was much longer. His eyes were now yellow, with black sclera, giving him a demonic or otherworldly appearance. A pair of natural blades grew from the back of his hands. But the biggest change by far was an additional pair of arms sprouting from his back, though rather than having hands, these arms ended in huge sickle-like blades, almost like the arms of a praying mantis. What the hell? Naruto yelled upon seeing Mizuki's new form. Haku was so stunned he wasn't able to say anything. And while the transformation left both Naruto and Haku shocked, it left Hinata, who watched it through her Byakugan, completely horrified. The Hyuga had seen how the second type of chakra invaded the body completely, assimilating Mizuki's natural chakra. The transformation also modified Mizuki's chakra pathway system, creating new tenketsu and chakra paths. Now brats, get ready to feel Orochimaru's power. Mizuki dashed at Hinata, and thrust his hand blade at the Hyuga's gut. Fortunately, Hinata was able to jump backwards while kicking Mizuki's face. Naruto created more clones and sent them at the inhuman ninja, but Mizuki's mantis-like additional arms shredded them into pieces. Naruto-kun, Hinata-san, get out of there, now! Haku shouted. While Naruto was tempted to ask why, his instincts told him to simply do what the ice ninja said, and both he and Hinata jumped in opposite directions. The inhuman ninja saw that Gamikazu's jowl was puffed out again. Water release, water gun. Ice release, breath of winter. Gamikazu released a powerful stream of water from his mouth while Haku released a cone of ice from his mouth that froze Gamikazu's jutsu, creating a barrage of frozen water. Though rather than being surprised, Mizuki merely smirked, and made several hand seals. Fire release, cursed flame destruction. Mizuki exhaled a massive stream of blue fire from his mouth, pushing the water/ice combined attack back at Haku and Gamikazu, while evaporating the water of the rice field, and setting the rice plants on fire. Gamikazu disappeared in a poof when the heat was too much to take, while Haku used the body replacement jutsu, leaving a log behind, which was soon burned to ashes. What do you think about my power, brats? This isn't something you can achieve by staying in Konoha. That place does nothing but hold back those who are great. That's the reason Orochimaru-sama left in the first place, and more importantly, the reason why you will die here. Naruto, Hinata and Haku quickly regrouped, while Mizuki advanced menacingly towards them. Hinata and Haku were visibly exhausted, while Naruto had some minor wounds. Much to their displeasure, Mizuki seemed to be fine and dandy. Do you guys have a plan? You guys should know that I only have chakra left for 2, maybe 3 more jutsu. Haku mentioned. I believe I can keep the Byakugan active for a few more minutes, but my eyes are starting to sore, the Hyuga replied. Man, that cursed seal surely pumps Mizuki up. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the smiling inhuman ninja. Hinata, do you think you can close all his tenketsu? That should stop that cursed seal as well. My mastery of the 8 trigrams isn't further than 32 strikes so far. I don't think that will be enough for what you want. Sorry. Hinata lowered her head. No, but maybe it can weaken Mizuki enough for Naruto and I to finish him off. Haku added. Yeah, we need to try that. Come on, Haku and I will keep Mizuki busy, you go and close his tenketsu. Naruto said while patting Hinata on the back. 2 will do my best, the 3 genin facing Mizuki, still advancing towards them with a smug smirk plastered on his face. They slipped into their usual fighting stances. Still want to fight? stubborn until the very end. You guys should know when to give up. Mizuki laughed mockingly. No man or woman who can make me give up has been born yet. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 10 clones appeared around Naruto. Get him. Mizuki adopted a fighting stance as the small army of clones charged at him. However, just when he was about to stab the first one with one of his blade arms, the clones jumped aside in opposite directions, leaving a small passageway, which Haku used to pepper the traitorous ex-Konoha ninja with Senbon. You'll need more than those toothpicks to actually harm me, brat. Mizuki didn't even bother to remove the Senbon from his body. How about this then? All the clones pulled out a curved Fuma shuriken and tossed them at Mizuki at the same time. Mizuki, however, used his increased agility to dodge most of them, and used his additional bladed arms to parry those he couldn't dodge. Unfortunately for him, this had the effect of being left completely wide open. Hinata, now. The Hyuga heiress quickly dashed towards the maroon-skinned ninja, ready to strike. 8 trigrams, 32 palms. That again? Like hell, I'm going to let you do it again. Mizuki turned to grab Hinata's arm before she could deliver the first blow. Like hell, we're going to let you stop her. Haku flew through hand seals. Ice release, 1,000 ice needles of death. Mizuki had to use all his 4 arms to protect himself from the rain of ice spikes, leaving him vulnerable to Hinata's attacks. 2 strikes. 4 strikes. 8 strikes. 16 strikes. 32 strikes. The last strike was so potent that she pushed Mizuki a few meters backwards. Naruto then used 2 clones to push him and gain enough momentum, and delivered a devastating flying kick to Mizuki's face, which hurled him backwards even further, making him fall on his back with a loud thud. After a moment of silence, Hinata's Byakugan deactivated automatically and fell on her knees. Naruto immediately rushed to her. Hinata. Are you okay? The blonde asked, concerned. Why yes, I am just a bit tired. I never had to fight and use the Byakugan for so long, Hinata replied, panting a bit. You were amazing, Hinata. I knew you could do it. Naruto congratulated as he patted her on the back. Hinata blushed a little. Why you think so? Of course, Haku interceded. If it wasn't for you Haku was unable to finish his sentence as Mizuki's hand blade stabbed in his gut. Mizuki then pulled his natural spike from Haku's body, and hatefully kicked the ice ninja backwards. Naruto and Hinata couldn't help but stare at the scene, speechless. Mizuki looked at them and laughed. What? Did you thought that such a pathetic attack was enough to finish me off? The former academy instructor teased cruelly before moving to hit Naruto. Acting on reflexes, Hinata moved to intercept the attack, but she was unable to block it in time and Mizuki's punch hurled her backwards, while her body spun violently. Naruto didn't have time to react before Mizuki sunk his knee into his stomach, before delivering a painful kick to the face, knocking Naruto on his back. Then again, the combo from that Hyuga bitch would have left me completely wrecked and with hardly any chakra. Thanks goodness I'm more than human now, hee. Well, time to finish the job. Mizuki cracked his fingers before moving towards Hinata. Naruto struggled to get up, but between the emotional shock of his friends being beaten to death, and the physical strain of the prolonged battle, he was unable to move. So, this is how it ends? Both my and I friends, killed on our very first mission outside the village, at the hands of a traitor? The Jinchuriki never felt so angry before. Not only angry for being beaten by such despicable man, but the fact that he was unable to protect his friends. How was he supposed to become Hokage, the man who has to protect the whole village, when he couldn't even protect his teammates? His parents always warned him against the harsh realities of the ninja world, but he never truly understood them until now. As he heard the soft splashes of water made by Mizuki's steps, he knew that their death was closer by the second. If he only was stronger, if he only had the means to save his friends like a future Hokage should, Naruto, the blonde heard guttural voice inside his head. Huh? I can sense your anger, your hatred, that man. Mizuki. You want to make him pay for what he did, right? Who are you? That matters little now. What matters now is Mizuki. You want to kill him, right? For all what he did. Not just you and your friends, but your village as a whole. Yes. Yes, of course I want to. In that case, Naruto started to feel a heat building up from inside his body. Take my power, and kill him. Kill him, and everybody who dares to stand in your way. Give in to your anger. Let the world know the power of your hatred. Let's dye the waters of these lands red. A red aura surrounded Naruto, and started to glow brighter each second. The water around the blonde started to boil. The Jinchuriki felt the pain of his wounds and the ache of his muscles slowly receding, as it was being replaced by pure energy. His body got on its feet on its own, as if he was being pulled up by invisible hands. The only thing that's going to end today is your life. The feral ninja snarled at Mizuki. Naruto's eyes were now blood red, with slitted, vertical pupils. His facial whisker marks were now bolder, and his teeth appeared to be bigger and sharper. The fiery red aura increased with each second. Despite the display of power, Mizuki wasn't intimidated. So, you finally show your true face, demon. But don't think this changes anything. I'm well aware of the limits of your power. You're only delaying the inevitable. Naruto didn't reply, he merely shot forwards, ready to punch Mizuki's ugly grin. The Oto ninja was fast enough to catch Natua's fist, but he wasn't fast enough to block Naruto's kick to his gut, which forced him to bend forward, something that the blonde ninja capitalized by punching Mizuki in the jaw, hurling him backwards a few meters. You're dead. You hear me? Dead. Naruto bellowed as he dashed forwards once more. Mizuki quickly got up. At the same moment, Naruto was once again at hand-to-hand range, ready to deliver another punch. This time, Mizuki tried to impale the Konoha genin with his mantis-like arms, but Naruto caught both sickle-shaped blades with his bare hands. His hands started to bleed, but Naruto didn't seem to be bothered in the slightest. Then, with an impressive show of strength, he tore the sickle-shaped blades off. Rayarg! You son of a bitch! Mizuki yelled in pain. Naruto lunged once again, ready to impale Mizuki with his own blades. But in his state of unbridled anger, he was left wide open, vulnerable to Mizuki's hate-filled kick, which stopped Naruto's momentum and sent him hurling backwards. Naruto tried to get up once again, but Mizuki wasn't going to leave him any room to breathe, and kicked him once again. He then started to relentlessly kick Naruto until the red aura vanished. I have to admit I underestimated the power of the Nine Tails, but that demon will soon be history once I kill you. Mizuki raised his hand blade, ready to impale Naruto. However, before he had the chance to claim the blonde's life, Mizuki saw a white and red blur flying at him, kicking him in the face and tossing him backwards. Don't you dare to touch my student, you monster! Mizuki got up, and after cleaning the blood from his broken mouth, he saw his attacker, an attractive raven-haired kunoichi in her late 20s. He took a few seconds to realize who this woman was. Kurenai? Oh, of course. Naturally, Konoha wouldn't let children run away unsupervised. I presume you're their Jonin-sensei, right? Kurenai frowned. That's correct, creature. And you're not going to lay another finger on them as long as I'm here. And how do you know who I am? Oh come now, you hurt me, Kurenai. I knew that we weren't exactly close, but you should at least remember me given that we used to be classmates. Classmates? What are you wait a minute, Mizuki? Kurenai narrowed his eyes at him, a bit puzzled. Bingo. I knew you were among the smart ones. As a reward, I will spare you from seeing your precious students die by killing you first. Mizuki chuckled. I'd like to see you try, you traitor. Oh, I will do more than just try. Mizuki's hands flew through hand seals. Fire release, cursed flame jutsu. Once more, Mizuki exhaled a massive stream of blue fire. Kurenai didn't waste time and made several hand seals as well. Water release, wild water wave. Kurenai gushed an equally large stream of water from her mouth. Both elemental attacks collided, resulting in a cloud of steam. However, Mizuki's fire jutsu was starting to lose power, and thus losing ground to Kurenai's water jutsu. In the end, Mizuki was overwhelmed by the water attack. The traitorous ninja tried to get up, but a wave of pain surged through his body when he tried to move. My body. What's going on? Where did all my power go? Mizuki desperately thought, until he found the answer. The cursed seal. Kabuto told me not to overdo it. I have been using it for too long. As he deactivated the cursed seal, his body started to regress to his original human appearance. The pain started to recede as well. However, he was starting to feel incredibly exhausted. He had no chance to defeat a well-rested Jonin in such circumstances. You left poor Tsubaki heartbroken, you know that, scum? Kurenai angrily asked as he walked towards him, holding a kunai. But it's okay. Once I take you back to Konoha, she will be able to break up with you properly. Right before you're executed for treason. Despite his poor odds, Mizuki allowed himself to smirk, as his hand reached his tool pouch. While I might die one day, it won't be today. Nor will be by your hands, Kurenai. This land belongs to Orochimaru-sama, and those who dare to step foot on it will die, one way or another. Farewell. Mizuki then threw a smoke ball, and took advantage of the resulting cloud to escape. Kurenai entertained the thought of chasing him, since he couldn't be too far, but in the end decided that helping her students was more important. 2 hours later Naruto opened his eyes. He blinked several times before his eyes could adapt to the light. Before briefly and hazily inspecting his surroundings, his mind drifted towards his last memory, the fight against Mizuki, and how the former Konoha ninja was about to kill both him and his teammates. Hinata! Haku! He instinctively yelled. Naruto felt somebody grabbing his hand. Calm down, Naruto. They're okay, as so are you. Kurenai softly reassured. Naruto realized that he was on a bed, in the same room he had been spending the last couple nights. In the other bed was Haku, who apparently was asleep. Kurenai and Hinata were at both sides of Naruto's bed. The latter looked relieved to see Naruto awake. What happened? Naruto managed to ask. Kurenai-sensei appeared and defeated Mizuki for us. Then she brought us back here. Hinata hurried to explain. Then Hinata treated both Haku and you. Haku had some serious wounds, but fortunately he's out of danger now. Kurenai continued. It's a good thing that Hinata is a medic nin in training. Guess that Tsunade-sama knew what she was talking about when suggested that all squads should have a medic nin. Yeah, Mom's awesome, isn't she? A foxy grin plastered on Naruto's face. Said smile, however, was short-lived, as his mood surely grew somber. Kurenai-sensei, what about your trip to the capital? Is the Rice Fields Lord going to help us? Naruto and Hinata noticed that Kurenai's mood darkened as well when asked such question. She let out a heavy sigh. I'm afraid that there won't be any help. This new village, Otogakure, has conquered the country. The capital is in ruins, completely deserted save for a few scavengers. Other towns have been ravaged as well. Hell, Sawa may be the only town left, and when word of our presence here gets out, it will suffer the same fate. Hinata looked distraught. Then what are we going to do? We can't protect this town if more ninjas like Mizuki come again. There's no other option. The only viable course of action will be to escort the townspeople left here to the land of fire, Kurenai answered. We will have to protect them from any attacks while they cross the border. Naruto looked unsure, his resolve wavering for once. Mizuki did quite a number on us, and he was just one. What if they send more ninja with those freaky mutant powers? I wish we could ask for help, but I'm afraid that we don't have any means to contact Konoha other than sending a messenger bird, and that would take too long. Actually, there's a way to instantly send a message to Konoha. Naruto stated. Kurenai's eyes shot open. Come again? Write the message first, I'll go get the messenger. Naruto said as he started to get up from the bed, only for a concerned Hinata to try and stop him. Naruto-kun, no. Mizuki gave you quite the beating, you need to rest first. The Hyuga protested. Naruto merely grinned at her. Hey, it's okay. I recover from my injuries pretty quickly. Dad says it's because of the 9 tails. Guess that something good should come out from having the fox thrust into my stomach, hee. Oh okay then, but try not to exert yourself. Hinata warned him. A few minutes later, Kurenai finished writing a scroll detailing their situation and requesting reinforcements. Naruto then bit his thumb and made 5 hand seals before slamming his hand on the floor. Summoning Jutsu. From a cloud of smoke a small toad appeared. It was mostly red, with blue markings around his eyes and his head. A pair of goggles were hanging from his neck. Hey, Naruto. The toad cheerfully greeted. What can I do for ya? Kosuke, I need you to deliver a message to Dad. It's super important. As in, a matter of life and death important. Naruto remarked. He then turned to his sensei. Kurenai-sensei, give him the message. After staring for a couple seconds, Kurenai dumbly nodded and handed the furled scroll to the small red toad. Consider it done, Naruto. Kosuke said before vanishing in a cloud of smoke. After a couple minutes, Kurenai spoke. Naruto, I don't want to badmouth your or Hokage-sama's summons, but do you trust that that toad will deliver the message in time? Actually, I'm pretty sure that Dad is already reading that scroll as we speak. Naruto confidently replied. Kurenai raised an eyebrow. That fast? Do the toads have a way to teleport to Konoha? As a matter of fact, they do. Naruto's statement took Kurenai aback. You see, there's this weird pool thing in Mount Myaboku that connects with Konoha, which the toads can use to travel to the village when they need to. After Kosuke cancelled the summon and returned to Myaboku, he uses the pool to travel to Konoha. Said pool can be used to appear at the side of a toad summoner that happens to be on Konoha, or to appear inside the Hokage's office if there isn't any. That's something really useful. Hinata commented. It's a good thing that Hokage-sama allowed you to sign that summoning contract before graduating. Dad said he wanted to have a way to keep contact with me when I was outside. I thought that he and Mom were being overprotective, but now I have to admit that it came rather handy. Of course, Naruto would never admit that in front of Jiraiya and Tsunade. Konoha, mission assignment desk. Jiraiya was handing the last missions of the day to the genin teams. In an hour, he'll return to the tower to continue his daily doses of pain and misery, most commonly known as paperwork. The door opened, and Jiraiya saw Asuma's team walking inside the room. Asuma looked rather content. Shikamaru was wearing his usual apathetic demeanor. Choji was busy devouring a bag of chips, and Ino looked a bit irritated. Well, Asuma's tactical squad. I'm so glad to see you here. Coming for a mission, I guess? Jiraiya asked, already knowing the answer. You guess right, Hokage-sama, Asuma replied. Your genin don't look too eager, though. Jiraiya pointed out. I know. But they just need to know that being a ninja sometimes means getting your hands dirty and do stuff you don't want to. Sooner or later, they'll understand that. Asuma said, taking a look at the trio of kids. Now, what do you have for us? Let me see. Jiraiya started to look through the scrolls on the desk. There's a house that requires a paint job, some medicine that need to be delivered to a town near Konoha, and a couple that want somebody to pull the weeds from their garden. Ino frowned. Come on, those missions suck. Don't you have something better, like taking care of your kids? I promised Kaita-chan that I would try some new hairstyles on her. Yeah, and Hagane is a pretty good shogi player, for being so young. Shikamaru noted. Granted, he has never defeated me yet, but each game is becoming a bit harder to win. Sorry, but Hagane and Kaita already have another team babysitting them. Jiraya informed. Ino cursed something under her breath. She was about to ask which team it was when suddenly Kosuke, the messenger toad, appeared in front of Jiraya with a scroll between his arms. Jiraya, urgent message from Naruto. The toad shouted, while pretty much thrusting the scroll into Jiraya's chest. He says it's a matter of life and death. Asuma noticeably tensed upon hearing the small toad's words. Ino remembered that Kurenai was Naruto's sensei, who was more than just friends with Asuma, regardless of how much Asuma tried to deny it. Jiraiya unfurled the scroll, and started to read. His expression grew darker, which wasn't that surprising, considering the way the toad announced his entrance. Hokage-sama, what does the message say? Are Kurenai and her team okay? Asuma asked, flinching a little. Bad news. Remember Otogakure, Orochimaru's hidden village we've been trying to find during the past years? Well, let's say that Kurenai found it. What? Asuma shouted, startling his genin. They're going to evacuate the town before they're attacked by rogue ninja working for Orochimaru, but they can't do it alone, and are requesting reinforcements. Then you have those reinforcements right here. Asuma declared. His three genin looked at him incredulously. Jiraiya sighed, and pinched the bridge of his nose. Asuma, I know that you and Kurenai are close, but as you can understand, I can't send a team of genin fresh from the academy to a potential A-rank mission. Why not? I admit that these three are still a bit green, but they have potential. Plus I will be with them all the time. Besides, didn't you raise the academy standards so our genin would be better prepared for these kinds of situations? And if you think we're not enough, you can always send more people with us. Jiraiya spent a few minutes pondering what to do. After the whole Uchiha debacle, their numbers have been reduced, most Chunin and Jonin were constantly on missions, and there were very few high-ranked ninja in reserve. Before he could gather a better force, Asuma's team would have to do. Alright, you can go, but you won't go alone. Go to the north gate, you will meet your escort there in an hour. Thank you, Hokage-sama, Asuma said, bowing before the Hokage. You three, go to your houses and pack what you will need for a week-long trip. As they exited the building, Choji, who just finished his bag of chips, spoke up. An A-rank mission, isn't that a bit too much for us? Choji asked. Given that it involves fighting against ninja of Asuma-sensei's caliber, yeah, pretty much. Shikamaru replied. Troublesome. Insane is the word I'd actually use. Ino added. Come on, don't be so glum. Yeah, it's going to be a little dangerous, but everything will be fine as long as you stay close to me and do exactly as I say. Asuma said in a reassuring tone. Meanwhile at the mission assignment desk, Jiraiya had summoned a couple ANBU. What are your orders, Hokage-sama? A bird-masked ANBU asked. Go to torture and interrogation and fetch our resident Orochimaru expert. Tell her I have a mission for her. Oh, and whenever Itachi Uchiha returns from his current mission, tell him that I need to talk to him about something of utmost importance. The next day, Kurenai and the town mayor, Ryo Yuhara, were overseeing the evacuation of the villagers. The mood was somber and glum. As expected, many people opposed to leave the town in which their families lived for generations, but in the end they eventually saw reason. That didn't mean that they had to like it though. Well, this is going better than I expected. Kurenai commented, as she saw people getting all what they could from their soon-to-be former houses. If they keep this pace, we will be able to leave by tomorrow morning. Ryo sighed heavily. To think that when I hired you, I thought that this was merely a bunch of bandit gangs roaming out of control. I can't believe that we're forced to leave our beloved home like this. Your people is what matters, Ryo-san. But if it makes you feel better, think of this as a temporary solution. Once we deal with Orochimaru, you will be able to return to your previous lives, Kurenai tried to reassure. That didn't help with Ryo's depressed mood, but he made an effort to smile. Well, I hope you're right. Think that my son won't be born here. You can let this get you. Your people need you more than ever. Ryo sighed once again. Guess you're right. I need to be strong, for both my family and the people of this town. Good. We will make sure that all of you cross the border safe and sound. Kurenai then spotted a bunch of Naruto clones helping some villagers load some of their belongings on cart wagons. She then walked towards one of them. I guess you're a clone, right? Yeah, the clone replied. Do you know where the original is? Kurenai asked. The clone merely shook his head. In that case. Naruto, when you hear this, I want you to meet me on the rice field you battled Mizuki. There's something important I need to talk with you about. And with that, she delivered a quick hand chop to the clone's neck, dispelling it. 5 minutes later, Naruto and Kurenai were standing in what remained of the rice field that served as battlefield of the very first fight between Konoha and Oto. What did you want to talk about, Kurenai-sensei? Naruto asked, a bit nervous, as he rubbed his right arm. Sensing her student's distress, Kurenai smiled. You can relax, it's nothing bad. Her smile then disappeared. Though it's an important issue, and if we don't discuss it now, it can snowball into a bigger problem. Naruto swallowed. And that would be? Shortly before I arrived, you were fighting against Mizuki. I couldn't see it properly since I was still too far away, but there was an aura. A fiery red-orange glow surrounded your body. It disappeared when Mizuki got the upper hand of the fight, but even being so far away, I could sense an incredibly powerful and evil chakra coming from you. I think I don't need to elaborate any further to know what I'm talking about, right? Naruto averted his gaze. The 9 tails. Kurenai nodded. Now Naruto, I want to make it clear that I'm not mad at you or anything, but this is something that needs to be addressed. First, answer me this. Before this mission, was there any other time in which you tapped into the Kyuubi's chakra? The blonde shook his head. No, never. My dad wanted to teach me how to use it, but then the whole Uchiha insurrection happened, he became Hokage, and didn't have as much time to train me as before, so we kinda skimmed that part. I see. Now I want you to remember what happened, and how you felt when you were fighting Mizuki and manifested the Kyuubi's chakra. It's kind of blurry. I was rather boggled at the time, Naruto replied, rubbing the back of his head. Still, Kurenai wasn't planning on letting him go so easily. Please make an effort. Okay, let me see. I was rather angry. Angry at Mizuki because he was about to kill us, and angry at myself because I wasn't able to save my friends, Naruto began. Kurenai listened intently. And what happened then? I think I heard a voice. What did the voice say? I don't remember. Kurenai frowned at Naruto, which made the blonde raise his hands defensively. It's true, I swear. If I remember I'll tell you. We can go back to that later. What happened next? Kurenai pressed. All I remember is that I wanted Mizuki dead. I already told you it's kind of blurry, but that's all what I remember. I wanted Mizuki dead. I felt like my body was moving on its own, but it didn't bother me. I wasn't in control of my body, but my body was doing what I wanted. This must sound super weird, right? Absolutely not. Kurenai sharply replied. For the time being, I heard enough. If you ever feel like that again, even if it's just for a fraction of a second, tell me, okay? Naruto obediently nodded. Once all this madness is over, we'll talk about this with Jiraiya-sama. I see. Naruto looked at his feet. Then he lifted his head again, meeting Kurenai's crimson gaze. What do you want me to do now? For the time being, continue what you were doing. Help the villagers pack up their stuff, and stay alert if an enemy appears. Hopefully, we will be gone by the time they attack, and the reinforcements we asked for will be here to support us. Right. When they returned to the town, there was a surprise waiting for them, but mostly for Kurenai. Turns out that 5 ninja had arrived, 2 of which she knew very well. The apparent leader of the group was having a talk with the mayor. Asuma? Enko? Kurenai asked out loud. Look who finally decided to show up. Enko cheerfully shouted as she walked towards the Genjutsu mistress. First mission out of town, and you need to ask for reinforcements. You have some rotten luck, girl. Kurenai frowned a bit. This isn't my first mission out of Konoha, Enko. Well, it is as a Jonin sensei. But I wasn't blaming you, you know. Asuma finished his talk with the mayor, and went to greet Kurenai as well. Hey. Good to see that we arrived just in time, Kurenai. Asuma said, smiling at her. Kurenai smiled back and wiped a strand of her hair from her face. Indeed. I wasn't expecting you to show up. The red-eyed Jonin noticed Asuma's genin team behind him and Enko. Did you bring your students? Asuma simply shrugged. The more the merrier, right? This is a potential A-rank mission. I'm surprised Hokage-sama allowed you to bring them here, given the risks. Hey, relax. They came here to help with the evacuation. If a fight breaks out, they won't take part on it. We will do all the heavy lifting, Asuma explained, hoping to reassure Kurenai. Enko decided to intercede. So, you finally found out this Otoge-cure we've been looking for years. It was less a question and more a statement. We never thought looking in this country, since we didn't think there would be anything that would catch Orochimaru's interest. Guess we were wrong. We know it's somewhere on these lands, but I don't know its exact location. We'll need to send a team of spies to check it out once this is over. Kurenai replied. While the adults talked, Ino decided to start up a conversation with her 2 teammates. Have you seen the way Asuma-sensei and Kurenai-sensei looked at each other? They're so going out, but for some reason they don't want to admit it. Ino said while glancing at the 2 Jonin, who were still talking. Shikamaru raised an eyebrow. Do you think it's appropriate to talk about that in a situation like this? According to what Hokage-sama said, we could pretty much end up fighting a Jonin. Ino frowned at her Nara teammate. You're such a killjoy, you know that? I agree with Shikamaru. I heard that Naruto, Hinata, and Haku nearly died fighting Oto Ninja. Choji commented. Thank goodness they're okay. Ugh, you guys are no fun. Ino scoffed, as she turned her head away. Speaking of which, where are Naruto, Hinata, and Haku? Haku is still resting at the inn, while Naruto and Hinata are helping the townspeople to pack their stuff. Kurenai told her. Why don't you go and help them? I'm sure that they will appreciate a few extra hands. Shikamaru groaned. Boy, no matter where we go, we never get rid of D-rank missions. This is all kinds of troublesome. Shut up and get moving, you lazy ass. Ino chided, while she went to find her former academy classmates, with Shikamaru and Choji following behind. Undisclosed location, land of the rice fields. After being granted permission by its only occupant, Kabuto entered Orochimaru's private study. As the medic Nin expected, the Sannin was studying the scroll of seals. During those times, he warned all his minions to not disturb him unless it was important. The silver-haired ninja hoped that his report was important enough. What news do you bring me, Kabuto? The snake Sannin asked in an oddly neutral tone, one that couldn't mask his irritation completely. Orochimaru-sama, the spies have returned. Kabuto announced. And? Kabuto cleared his throat and adjusted his glasses. According to their report, people of Sawa Town are preparing an evacuation. They plan to cross the border and settle in the Land of Fire. Konoha had sent another squad of ninja to help with their exodus. What kind of reinforcements did Konoha send? Orochimaru asked. A team of 5 people, 2 jonin and 3 genin. According to their description, the jonin matches the description of the Konoha ninjas known as Asuma Sarutobi and Enko Mitarashi. Orochimaru perked up upon hearing that last name. He turned at Kabuto and smiled wickedly. So Enko-chan is here? That makes things even better. Do you still plan to engage them yourself? Indeed. It will be a great chance to put these new eyes to the test, Orochimaru replied. In his unabashed anticipation, Orochimaru's eyes flared with a red glow, revealing a pair of fully developed Sharingan. After greeting their former classmates, Team Asuma was assigned to help the villagers with their luggage. With the 6 extra arms, and Naruto's shadow clones, they finished a couple hours before sunset. Since the evacuation wouldn't start until the next morning, the only question left was what to do in the meantime. Maybe we should get some training in, to get ready before the inevitable Oto attack comes, Naruto suggested. From what your sensei told us, you barely came out alive from your latest fight, then you've been helping these people pack their stuff, and yet you still have energy for training? Shikamaru asked incredulously. Man, I get exhausted by just being near you. Maybe that's why he's so energetic, because he siphons the stamina and chakra of those around him? Choji suggested half-jokingly. If that was the case, then Shikamaru would be unaffected since he has none to begin with, Ino replied. But then again, I agree with Shika. Besides, tomorrow's mission is going to be insane. We should get all the rest we can. I agree with Ino. Besides, I still haven't recovered completely from the battle with Mizuki, Hinata mentioned, making a conscious effort to suppress the sensei honorific. Speaking of which, I can't believe that guy ended up joining another village, and one created by Orochimaru, no less. To think that he used to be our instructor, Shikamaru mused as he rubbed the back of his neck. Maybe we will see him again, if he decides to finish the job. Choji mentioned. If that traitor's stupid enough to show his ugly face a second time, it will be me who's going to finish the job. Naruto punched his palm vigorously. By the way he spoke, everybody guessed that Naruto actually wanted for Mizuki to show up again. We still haven't decided what are we going to do until we go to bed, Shikamaru reminded everyone. How about some culinary tourism? This is the first time I've been out of Konoha, and I'd like to see what they eat in other countries. Choji suggested. There were only like 2 restaurants in the town, and both of them are now closed due to the evacuation thing, Naruto explained, and noticed how Choji's mood soured. But that doesn't mean that we aren't going to have dinner. Hinata interceded, hoping to at least reassure Choji a bit, aware of the Akimichi's love of food. In fact, why don't we have dinner now? Yeah, that can work too. Naruto agreed. Let's go back to the inn. That way, we can check on Haku as well. While they walked the relatively short distance towards the inn, the group of 5 separated into 2 subgroups, boys and girls. Though a more accurate statement would have been Ino grabbing Hinata and dragging her away from the 3 boys, who were casually chatting with each other. Hinata wasn't sure what Ino wanted, but her unnerving smile made her a bit nervous. Okay Hinata, we didn't have a chance to talk after we graduated, so now you're going to spill everything. Ino demanded in an oddly commanding tone. Spill? What are you talking about? The Hyuga heiress asked. Ino grimaced. About the state of your relationship with Naruto, the blonde replied as if stating the most obvious thing. Come on, everybody knows that you have the hots for him, and you got lucky enough to be in the same team as him. I mean, I can see that you're not formally a couple yet, but I'm sure that you progressed in some way beyond the just friend stage, right? Hinata turned extremely red, averted her gaze, started to fidget with her fingers while she tried to elaborate a response, but all that came from her mouth was inelegant blubbering. That was enough for the gossip-hungry blonde. Nothing yet. Ino grimaced. Come on girl, if you don't take the initiative, some other girl will take him away from you. While Naruto may not be my type, he's kind of cute, plus he's the son of two Sannin, which will increase the popularity factor, and thus, the number of girls after him. Well, it's that Naruto-kun is my friend and I don't know if he likes me that way, the shy Hyuga replied. Ino wrapped an arm around Hinata's shoulders and her face came uncomfortably close to Hinata's. Nonsense. You're a cute girl, and Naruto would be a dumbass if he doesn't realize what he has in front of his eyes. Unfortunately, we have more pressing matters at hand now, but once all of this is over and we're back home, we'll work to make sure that blonde knucklehead notices you. Hey! Naruto shouted, indignantly. Who's this blonde knucklehead you are talking about? Ino didn't realize that she had raised her voice that much, and that Naruto wasn't that far away from them. While he didn't catch the whole conversation, his ears perked up at those two words. And nobody. Hinata quickly replied. We're talking about a cousin of Ino that's been annoying her lately. Shikamaru, and even Choji, realized that Hinata was telling a huge lie. However, the blonde merely smiled. Oh, if you say so. I believe you. I know that you would never badmouth me behind my back, Hinata, Naruto happily concluded, before returning to his conversation with Shikamaru and Choji. Hinata sighed wearily. While it would have been heartwarming in any other circumstance, Naruto's blind confidence in her made her feel even worse. I can't believe I lied to Naruto-kun like that. Well, it was me who called him a knucklehead, not you. Ino reassured, her voice now being lower. She then grinned. But did you see that? He trusts you a lot. That's a good sign. Ino, is there something I can do or say to make you drop this topic? Hinata asked exasperatedly. Ino's smile grew even wider. Nope, nothing. Senju residence, Konoha. Upon arriving home, Jiraiya saw that Tsunade was already there. After greeting her, he decided to get to the point, and told her about Naruto's message. As he predicted, Tsunade pretty much exploded. Though given that the house was still standing, her reaction wasn't as catastrophic as the Toad Sage had initially feared. So Naruto goes on his first mission out of the village, and he accidentally stumbles on Orochimaru's secret lair. Tsunade shouted as she threw her hands in the air. I knew that something would go wrong, damn it. I should have never given him that accursed necklace. Listen, there's no way we could have known what was going to happen. Jiraiya tried to reassure her. Besides, I already sent reinforcements. Naruto will be fine. You sent another rookie squad, and Orochimaru's former pupil. Kami knows how many ninja that Snake has under his command. Tsunade countered. Hey, the Uchiha insurrection did a number on our forces. That was the best I could come up with at the moment. Not the best. You could have sent me. Tsunade replied, as her frown deepened. Jiraiya frowned in return. Tswanda, no. We can't forsake our responsibilities whenever Naruto faces some danger. The life of a ninja is a dangerous one. We know it and he knows it. We are needed here. No. But I can't help but feel worried. Still a kid. Tsunade rubbed her arms, as she averted her gaze. I'm worried too. But I have something that will alleviate some of those worries. Jiraiya said, and much to her confusion, he spread a map of the elemental nations in front of her. Then, the white-haired Sannin made a hand seal, and multiple tiny symbols and kanji appeared on the map, most of them concentrated on Konoha. Jiraiya, what is this? I have marked many people with a tracker seal that allows me to pinpoint their location on this map at any moment. Jiraiya pointed to a tiny symbol on the land of the rice fields. This is Naruto. The seals are linked to their life forces, meaning that if they died, they would not appear in the map, and I would feel the seal disappear. So, Naruto is still okay. Tsunade said, somewhat relieved. Then she frowned again when a realization dawned upon her. Wait a minute, how many people did you mark with that seal? I hope I'm not among them. Jiraya just chuckled. I know better than that, Haim. The marked people are Naruto, Hagane, Kaida, and a bunch of people that haven't earned my full trust yet. Tsunade's mood somewhat lightened. So Naruto's safe for the moment. But that could change any time soon. From what I know, Naruto and the others should return to Konoha. I also know that tomorrow one of my strongest jonin will return from his mission, and I will send him as additional backup. You speak of Itachi? Tsunade asked. Jiraiya shook his head. He was my first option, but sadly he won't come back in time. Fortunately, I got news that another group finished their mission, and send them a message to go to the land of the rice field to assist Naruto's group. They're ANBU, so they should be enough. If you say so. Jiraiya then came close to Tsunade and kissed her on the cheek. Come on Haim, have some faith in Naruto. I'm sure that tomorrow night he will be back here in one piece, and we will laugh at how worried we were. Tsunade sighed, but solemnly nodded. Okay, I'll try not to get too worried. Sawa Town. Next morning the two jonin and one special jonin were awake half an hour before the sun would rise. Asuma was up even longer than that since he had taken the last watch of the night. They woke up the 6 genin and told them to wake up the villagers in return, so they could start the evacuation as fast as possible. The genin did as instructed, but still it took almost an hour before everybody was ready to go. After taking one last look at their hometown, the residents of Sawa Town began their march. Shikamaru, Ino and Choji were placed at the head of the caravan, which would serve as a reconnaissance force. Naruto, Hinata and Haku were placed in the middle, and between Naruto's clones and Hinata's Byakugan, they would make sure that the caravan wouldn't fall prey to potential ambushes. And lastly, Kurenai, Enko and Asuma were in the back, where it was more likely for an attack to come from. The atmosphere was tense. Very tense. And it wasn't just the civilians. The ninja, both children and adults alike, knew that they were in hostile territory, and they wouldn't be safe until they reached the land of fire. Enko decided to start a conversation, not just to keep her mind busy, but to get as many details of Orochimaru as possible. So tell us Kurenai, what exactly did you see in the capital? Enko inquired. The city had been completely ravaged. There was some signs of a fight, but it appeared as if it was the work of a colossal beast rather than an army of ninja. Kurenai recalled. That sounds awfully a lot like the job of a snake summon. Enko concluded. More than likely Manda, the snake boss. Orochimaru never earned his respect, and had to offer sacrifices in order to appease him. I guess that he probably summoned Manda to destroy the capital and thus get on his good graces, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. That bastard, Asuma growled. Those poor people never had a chance to begin with, right? Sadly, that appeared to be the case. These may as well be the last free citizens of the land of the rice fields. Too bad we couldn't save more. Kurenai mentioned while she looked at the caravan in front of her. Enko smiled a bit. Hey, focus on the people you saved than on those you couldn't save. You did a great job. Kurenai smiled in return. So, how long until we reach the border with the land of fire? Asuma asked. I guess that a couple more hours should do, give or take a minute. Enko replied. But I wouldn't put it past Orochimaru and his minions to ignore the borders and chase us into the land of fire. That would be a suicide. Orochimaru may be a madman, but even he knows that doing such a thing would be like declaring open war upon us. Kurenai interceded. Well, you guys kinda entered his domain first. Because we got a mission request from one of its towns. Kurenai loudly protested. If that bastard wants to use that to claim to other villages that Konoha invaded his Kurenai-sensei. A loud yell made the 3 jonin to turn their head to the source of the voice, and saw Naruto, or rather, one of his clones, rushing at them. Naruto. What's going on? The blonde stopped in front of the three adults, panting. Hinata saw something with her Byakugan. A massive snake coming from behind. The three adults looked at each other, exchanging worried looks. How far? Asuma asked. The range of her Byakugan is 1 kilometer, so I guess it would be that. But now it will be even closer. It will take a couple minutes for the snake to arrive. Kurenai walked to the clone and grabbed him by his shoulders. Naruto, Asuma, Anko and I will take on the snake. Your team and Asuma's genin will protect the caravan while we fight. There might be a chance that this is just a trap to get us out of the way, so if you pick up more enemies or are under attack, send us a signal. Shikamaru knows a couple of fire jutsu, so that should work. Asuma added. Is that clear? Protect caravan, call for help if we're under attack, the clone repeated. Kurenai nodded. Stay safe, and watch each other's backs. Kurenai said before she stabbed 2 fingers on the clone's neck, dispelling it. The earth started to shake. The 3 adult ninja slipped into their usual fighting stances. Here it comes. The ground shattered as a massive, gray snake emerged from below. The 3 Konoha ninja leapt backwards, all of them making hand seals while in air. Fire release, great flame jutsu. Asuma expelled an expanding stream of flames at the snake. Fire release, dragon fire jutsu. Anko released flames shaped like a dragon that flew at the snake. Wind release, great breakthrough. Kurenai motioned her arms forward, creating a huge gust of wind that increased the potency of Asuma and Anko's attacks. The snake loudly hissed in pain upon being hit by the attacks, its skin catching fire. The reptile, however, quickly shed its skin and put some distance between them. At that moment, 2 figures landed on the giant snake's head. Kokuku impressive display. I think you 3 will be more than enough to test my new abilities, one of the figures said. Anko's blood froze upon hearing the new voice. From atop the giant reptile was the unmistakable pale visage of Orochimaru, wearing the black and red Akatsuki cloak, smiling teasingly at her. Besides him was a glasses-wearing, silver-haired man that Anko paid no attention to. Orochimaru? Asuma asked, mildly shocked. I knew that he had conquered these lands, but I never thought that he would come out to fight us personally, Kurenai replied, trying not to shake. She knew this was a foe in a league way above hers. Anko noticed her friend's reaction and decided to intervene. Don't be afraid of him. That's what he wants. Deep down, he isn't that strong. Orochimaru merely chuckled. Not that strong? You hurt my feelings, Anko-chan. Orochimaru's lips formed a cruel smile. But if you're so sure, you're welcome to fight me. The last time we saw each other I was on a schedule, but now I have plenty of time to spare. And I want to check how much have you grown since the last time we fought. Orochimaru-sama, what about the genin and the civilians? His lackey asked. Take care of them, Kabuto. Killing mere genin and civilians won't be a good way to test my new strength. Right, Kabuto then jumped from the snake and dashed towards the bulk of the caravan. Kurenai attempted to stop the silver-haired Odo ninja, but in the blink of an eye, Orochimaru was in front of her, his expression unchanged. Now the 3 Konoha ninja were surrounded by the Sannin and his pet snake. I'm afraid I can't let you interfere with Kabuto's mission. But if you care so much about your students' well-being, it should serve as a motivation to defeat me, right? The snake Sannin chuckled. But even all the motivation in the world is useless without an equal amount of strength and the skill accompanying it. Listen, we don't need to defeat him. Just create an opening for one of us to leave and help our genin. Asuma suggested. As much as I enjoy a good conversation, I believe this chattering has gone long enough. Orochimaru adopted a fighting stance, while the giant snake behind prepared to pounce them. I agree. But first, let's even playing field. Anko bit her finger and ran through hand seals. Summoning jutsu. From a cloud of smoke, a giant snake appeared, though it wasn't as big as Orochimaru's, it looked visibly surprised upon seeing one of its own, a reaction which was mirrored by the second snake. However, the shock was short-lived, as both snakes looked at each other, and nodded as if reaching some sort of unsaid understanding, before finally disappearing in a puff of smoke, much to Kurenai and Asuma's confusion. Smart. Really smart, Anko-chan. Orochimaru praised his former student, his smile remaining unchanged. Anko? What did you do? Kurenai asked, a bit puzzled. Easy. Two summons of the same tribe can't fight each other. If two summoners are at odds, as is the case of Orochimaru and myself, then our summons will refuse to fight for us until the dispute is over. So neither Orochimaru nor I will be able to summon snakes as long as the other is present. And given that Orochimaru can summon stronger snakes, I deprived him of an advantage, the special Jonin explained. Your constant underestimating of my abilities had some naive charm at first, but now it's starting to become irritating. It's about time I show you three the huge gap between our power. Orochimaru quickly motioned his arms forwards. Many hidden shadow snake hands. A myriad of angry hissing snakes emerged from the Sannin sleeves and flew towards the Konoha ninja, who jumped back in an attempt to avoid their poisonous fangs. Damn it, that bastard still has access to some snake-based jutsu, but if he can, then so can I. Anko thought as she fended off the snakes. Asuma's hands flew through hand seals. Fire release, ash pile burning. Asuma then exhaled a huge cloud of gunpowder that covered Orochimaru completely. Asuma made a hand seal, making the gunpowder to explode, engulfing everything within the cloud in fire. However, much to his shock, Orochimaru jumped from the explosion almost unscathed. Sword of Kusanagi. Orochimaru opened his mouth, and a snake came out of it, which in turn vomited the sword in question, which flew at Orochimaru's hands. Killing you will be a nice way to get revenge on my former sensei. Asuma quickly pulled out his chakra blades and parried an incoming swing from Orochimaru's sword. The two of them continued trading blows, Orochimaru acting more aggressive, forcing Asuma on the defensive. Fortunately for the latter, he had two kunoichi that could provide him some backup. With a kunai in each hand, Kurenai dashed at Orochimaru, who quickly raised his sword to protect himself from the red-eyed woman's swings, and deliver one of his own. However, much to Kurenai's surprise, the sword of Kusanagi cut through her knives like they were butter, and the kunoichi barely avoided being slashed by the legendary sword. Thinking that such action left Orochimaru wide open, Anko pulled out a single shuriken and infused it with fire chakra before tossing it at Orochimaru. But before the flaming star reached the Sannin, Anko cast another jutsu in the span of a second. Shadow Clone Fire Shuriken Jutsu. Orochimaru, however, saw the attack, and in the blink of an eye, stabbed his sword on the ground, and formed more hand seals at an imperceptible speed. Wind Release, Wind Wall. A tornado formed out of nowhere, encasing Orochimaru and protecting him from all harm. The shuriken were unable to fly any further, their fire snuffled out by the powerful winds before being pushed outwards. The wind was so intense that it hurled the three Konoha Jonin backwards as well. Fortunately for them, the wind barrier didn't last long. Kukukui was afraid that I would kill you without having the chance to test my new power, Orochimaru said in an almost orgasmic tone. I'm glad to see that that's not the case. Anko was the first one to get back on her feet. How did you see my attack? I knew you were fast, but that was impossible, even by your standards, Anko complained, frustrated. Because these eyes can see through everything, my dear student. At first Anko didn't realize what he was talking about, but it took no time for her to see it. Orochimaru's eyes were no longer yellow, but red. They also had 3 tomo around the still slitted pupils. Anko paled in shock. Orochimaru somehow had acquired the Sharingan. Their already low chances of survival had become even smaller. Wind Release, Cyclone Vortex. Kabuto jumped over the cone of wind generated by Naruto, and landed gracefully in front of his 6 rivals, while sporting a smug smile. "If that's the best you have, then you may spare me the trouble and give up already," Kabuto taunted, not bothering to slip into a fighting stance. After Hinata detected Kabuto coming after them, the 6 genin decided to face him all together, and sent the refugees going, escorted by several Naruto clones. Hinata's Byakugan didn't see any more enemies coming after them, so she thought they would be fine. Hopefully, the clones would be enough until they reached the Land of Fire's border. How were she and her friends going to escape this 4-eyed menace? That was another problem she wasn't sure how to solve. Give up? Nobody has been born yet that can make me to give up on anything, Naruto replied as he formed another hand seal. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 10 Narutos appeared around him and charged at Kabuto, whose smile grew even bigger. "You seem to be an entertaining bunch. I'm sure Orochimaru-sama won't mind if I drag this fight a bit for my own amusement," Kabuto said as he engaged the clones. While Kabuto was busy with the clones, Haku pulled out a small scroll from his kimono and unfurled it on the ground. It was a sealing scroll with the kanji of water in the middle. After making a hand seal, Haku stepped on the kanji, and water started to pour from the scroll, creating a large puddle. Shikamaru, meanwhile, was trying to piece a plan together as fast as he could. The Naruto clones weren't going to buy him much time. "Alright, this enemy is easily as strong as our Jonin senseis, so we need to tread extremely carefully. Naruto, Hinata, and Choji are the best hand-to-hand fighters, so they should be at the front, while the rest of us support them from behind," Shikamaru started to explain. "We have the numbers advantage, so we should exploit that to its fullest. That means that we will attack him from every possible angle. With some luck, we might land some hits on him." After Shikamaru finished explaining his admittedly not-so-good strategy, Kabuto finished off the last Naruto clone. "Okay, let's see. I should make sure that the Jinchuriki, the Hyuga, and the Ice Release user are incapacitated without receiving much damage." His sight then moved towards the other 3 genin. You 3 look like the newest incarnation of the infamous Inoshikacho trio. Given that your bodies are nothing outside the ordinary, I guess Orochimaru-sama won't mind if I'm not as considerate on you," Kabuto mused as he menacingly advanced towards the 6 genin. "Naruto-kun, I think that it would be wise to bring some reinforcements," Hinata interceded. While Team Asuma didn't know what she was talking about, Naruto merely nodded. The blonde bit his finger and made 5 hand seals before slamming his hand on the ground. Summoning Jutsu. Naruto hoped that Gamikazu would be enough to tip the scales in their favor. However, much to his horror, from the cloud of smoke didn't appear his usual summon, but a much smaller toad. "Hi, I'm Gamitatsu. It's so great that somebody summoned me at last. Do you have some snacks?" Gamtatsu was a chubby, happy-looking yellow toad, with orange markings around his eyes and lips. Like Gamakichi, he was also wearing a blue jacket. "Ah, Wargurg." Naruto brought his hands to his head in horror. This was the last thing he needed. "Who the hell are you? Where is Gamikazu?" Naruto-kun didn't summon the intended toad? Hinata inwardly asked. Upon glancing at Naruto, she realized there was something slightly off about Naruto. His chakra network seems irregular. Maybe it was something Mizuki did to him? "So you didn't want to summon me?" "Oh, what a pity," Gamitatsu said, a bit downtrodden as he lowered his head. "I'm sure Naruto-kun didn't want to hurt your feelings, but right now we're fighting a powerful enemy, and we need a combat-capable toad who can assist us," Hinata softly explained. "Well, I never fought before, but I have some training I can help if you want." "Better you than nothing," Naruto conceded. Gamitatsu regained his carefree smile, and hopped on Naruto's shoulder. Resigning to having Gamitatsu as his partner for the time being, Naruto faced Kabuto once again, who was ready to attack. "Let's see how well Konoha train its genin." Kabuto set his sights on Shikamaru, and dashed at him. "Let's start with you, Nara." Of course he had to go after me first. So troublesome, Shikamaru formed a hand seal. Shadow imitation jutsu. Shikamaru's shadow extended towards Kabuto, forming a somewhat thick line. Kabuto merely sidestepped aside and continued his rush. The shadow split into multiple tendrils that tried to grab Orochimaru's second-in-command's shadow, but he dodged all of them expertly. In no time, he was in hand-to-hand range with the lazy genius. Disappointing. Now blades of chakra formed from Kabuto's hands, and he thrust one of them at the shocked Nara. Though rather than kill Shikamaru, Kabuto's attack hit an ice barrier that wasn't there a second before. Choji appeared behind Shikamaru, grabbed him, and jumped backwards, putting some distance between them and the silver-haired man. Wait, that looks like Mom and Shizun Nichan's chakra scalpels. Does that mean this guy is a medic nin? Naruto pondered. Guys. Do not let him touch you with that. They can cause internal damage. This is my chance. Hinata thought as she ran towards Kabuto while she made some hand seals. Lightning release, thunder palm. Hinata's hands crackled with electricity, and upon reaching Kabuto, tried to hit him with a lightning-infused palm strike. Kabuto parried her attacks, and tried to cut her with his chakra scalpels, but Hinata was able to block them as well. Meanwhile, Haku was preparing an attack. Ice release, multiple piercing icicle shot. Suddenly, sharp icicles started to rain upon the Oto Jonin. He dodged some of them while shattering others. And the Konoha Genin weren't going to give him any time to breathe. Human bullet tank. Wind release, great breakthrough. Once again, Kabuto was barely able to dodge the massive rolling meat boulder that had become Choji, as well as Naruto's wind jutsu. He was so focused in doing so that he momentarily lost sight of what Shikamaru was doing. And that moment was all what the lazy genius needed, as Kabuto suddenly found it nearly impossible to move. Looking down, he realized that Shikamaru had trapped him with the shadow imitation jutsu. Shadow imitation jutsu, success. Shikamaru announced, complacently grinning. However, his grin was short-lived as Kabuto started to overpower his jutsu. Congratulations for catching me, Nara, but that pitiful jutsu of yours is nowhere near enough to contain me. Kabuto said, not losing his cool one bit. Then maybe this will calm you down. Ino made a hand seal pointing at Kabuto. Mind Scream Jutsu. Just like the name of the attack implied, Kabuto felt as if somebody screamed into his eardrums, though it appeared as if the scream came from inside his head rather than outside. He tried to instinctively bring his hands to his head, but Shikamaru's jutsu didn't allow him to. Naruto, Hinata, Haku, attack him with everything you have. Shikamaru shouted. The three assault squad genin nodded, and prepared for the attack. Wind release, Toad gun. Gamatsu exhaled a huge stream of water, which was combined with a gust of wind created by Naruto. Ice release, piercing icicle shot. Haku formed an ice spear that flew at Kabuto. 8 trigrams, vacuum palm. Hinata thrust her palm forward, releasing a vacuum shell. And now, my turn, Shikamaru said as he ran through hand seals. Fire release, shadow fire thread. Shikamaru exhaled a small fire stream that ran along his shadow in a straight line. The 4 attacks collided, creating a huge explosion. Woohoo! Nice one, guys. Ino cheered, jumping and pumping a fist in joy. Ino's mood wasn't shared by Hinata, who saw what really happened through her Byakugan. He somehow used a body replacement in the last second. Hinata warned as she continued to scan the area for the silver-haired man. Haku-kun, he's right below you, underground. Haku jumped a fraction of a second before Kabuto's hands could catch his ankles. I'm going to admit that you brats are a bit stronger than I had expected. Kabuto said as he started to unearth himself. But the game ends now. I agree, said a female voice. Suddenly, a tree grew right behind Kabuto, its branches wrapping around the silver-haired man, immobilizing him completely. What the hell, would release? Kabuto asked in shock, but further inspection revealed otherwise. No, it's a genjutsu, very clever, Kurenai's voice said, as the red-eyed jonin appeared before him from thin air. But knowing that won't be of any help. What are you doing here? There's no way you and your two cohorts could have defeated Orochimaru-sama. Kabuto asked as he tried to break free from the branches that kept him in place. No, sadly, we didn't. I managed to get past Orochimaru's eyes to come help the genin. But then again, I saw that they weren't doing so bad after all. Thanks, Kurenai-sensei. Naruto replied, blushing a bit. What are we going to do with him, Kurenai-sensei? Hinata asked. He seems to be some sort of lieutenant of Orochimaru's, which means that he has plenty of intel about him. We'll bring him to Konoha with us for interrogation. Kurenai made a hand seal. Don't worry, this won't hurt. When you wake up, you will be in a cell in Konoha. Like hell I will, and much to Kurenai's shock, Kabuto kicked her in the guts, no longer restrained by her genjutsu. Using that window of opportunity, he made a hand seal, and disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Kurenai-sensei, he's 100 meters to the northwest, and running away in that direction. If you're quick you will catch him. Hinata was quick to inform. No, that's what he wants. Kurenai replied as she stood on her feet. I need to go back to help Asuma and Enko with Orochimaru. Should we go with you? Ino asked, a bit afraid. No. Orochimaru is way too powerful for you, especially now. Return with the refugees, they should be pretty close to the border with the Land of Fire. But what about you, Asuma-sensei, and that other woman? Choji asked. If this Orochimaru is that strong as you say, Kurenai smiled at the Akimichi kid. Your concern is touching, Choji, but don't be afraid for us. We can take care of ourselves. Now go. Kurenai and the 6 genin rushed in opposite directions. As the third member of the Sannin, Orochimaru was considered one of the most powerful ninja that Konoha ever produced. Jiraya was a genius of hard work who never gave up, and Tsunade was part of a lineage of powerful ninja, but Orochimaru was a prodigy. He was intelligent, strong, cunning, and most of the time, merciless. Very few ninja would dare to fight him. The Sharingan was one of the most feared bloodline limits to ever exist, even to the majority unaware of its terrifying evolution, the Mangekyo Sharingan. With a mere glance, a Sharingan wielder could instantly copy a jutsu that would take a normal ninja weeks or even months to master, besides being able to predict the opponent's movements with fearsome accuracy. So naturally, most people would think that fighting a Sharingan-wielding Orochimaru was a fool's errand. A suicidal fool's errand. Asuma Sarutobi never felt like a biggest fool in his life than now. His clothes had multiple cuts that reached his skin, some which leaked blood. His pair of chakra blades had been destroyed by a particularly vicious swing of the sword of Kusanagi. Fortunately, he always carried a spare pair. He had pumped even more chakra into the blades to endure the hits better, but doing so made his chakra reserves to pummel. He couldn't stay on the defensive all the time. If he wanted to survive, he had come to terms with the fact that there was no way they could win against him pretty quickly, he needed to attack as well. Hopefully Enko would be able to provide him an opening. He saw that the special Jonin was making head seals. However, this slight distraction allowed Orochimaru to sink his legendary sword on Asuma's shoulder. Fire release, fire dragon bullet. Enko exhaled once again a dragon-shaped stream of fire at Orochimaru, which nimbly dodged, while acting as if the attack was just a nuisance. Grabbing his injured shoulder, Asuma took advantage of this and jumped backwards, and ignoring the burning pain, started doing hand seals. Wind release, dust cloud jutsu. Enko would swear that he heard 2 voices shouting the name of the attack. Which proved to be true as both Orochimaru and Asuma exhaled a gust of wind with gray dust on it against each other, clashing in the middle. Unfortunately, Orochimaru's attack had more power, and pushed Asuma's backwards. Fortunately for Asuma, he wasn't alone. Fire release, fire dragon bullet. Anko combined her fiery attack with Asuma's, creating a huge stream of fire with burning dust that quickly overpowered Orochimaru's attack. Unfortunately, the Sannin used the body replacement, leaving a log in its place, which was promptly obliterated. He copied my jutsu. Asuma exclaimed in disbelief. Now he knew how Kakashi's enemies must feel. The Sharingan is sure something, isn't it? Orochimaru gushed as he appeared in front of the two Konoha ninja. You don't realize how blind all of us are until you see the world through these magnificent eyes. Not that you will see much in the near future. Asuma. Anko. Kurenai's voice called, as the red-eyed Jonin landed behind them. The refugees and the genin already crossed the border. We need to go. Right. Asuma, do you need any help? Anko asked to her male partner. My shoulder hurts like hell, but I still can go on. Let's go. Asuma said, as he and the female Jonin prepared for their escape. How cute, the prey think they can outrun their predator. Orochimaru was genuinely amused. His smile, however, turned into a scary snarl. Do you think you can escape from these eyes? The Sharingan is far from invincible, you traitorous bastard. Anko reached for her pouch, and pulled two smoke bombs, which she used to create a thick and wide smokescreen. While nothing escaped the Sharingan, Orochimaru still needed to see his opponents. If they escaped his vision, the Sharingan was pretty much useless. And as much as it pained the Sannin to admit it, a mere smoke bomb was more than enough to neutralize it and create an opening to escape. You're merely delaying the inevitable. Orochimaru said, still amused, as he began the chase. The snake Sannin took no time to reach one of his so-called prey, Asuma Sarutobi. Asuma had suffered some serious injuries in his duel against the Otogakure leader, and thus was the slowest. He probably told Kurenai and Anko to go on without him, born out of some ridiculous sense of chivalry. His pale hands flew through hand seals as he prepared a jutsu. However, said jutsu never came to be, as he was interrupted by a barrage of kunai coming from his left flank. In no time, Orochimaru's Sharingan locked onto another pair of red eyes. So they actually were preparing a trap, and Asuma was the bait. That meant that Anko wouldn't be too far either. Big deal, the result would be the same. From what he could see, Asuma seemed to care especially for that woman. He decided to target her instead, and maybe lure Anko as well. And, as expected, Anko reacted with another barrage of kunai aimed at the Sannin the moment he appeared to prepare a jutsu. Orochimaru cursed on the inside. This was dragging on way too long. If he could summon snakes, then this hunt would have ended a long time ago. But as long as Anko was there, that wasn't an option. That meant that Anko had to go, even if her two partners wouldn't let him touch her. Once again, Orochimaru shifted her target, expecting a preventive attack from Kurenai and Asuma. But said attack never came, and when Orochimaru cast his wind jutsu, Anko used the few seconds the Sannin had to slow down to increase the distance between them. Keep going. I can already see the border. Asuma encouraged his female partners. Do you think that a border between countries means anything to me? Orochimaru replied back as he increased his pace. Such trivialities won't stop me. You won't live to see the dawn of another day. No, but maybe we can stop you, a new voice said. Wood release, wood locking wall. Orochimaru's chase was stopped by several wooden pillars emerging from the ground, forming a thick and tall wall that stopped the Sannin in his tracks. Several Konoha Anbu landed on the top of the wall and on tree branches, surrounding the Sannin. So, for the first time in years, you finally decided to show your face, Orochimaru, the leader of the Anbu squad, a man with brown hair who was wearing a cat-like mask, stated, while crossing his arms. That will be your last mistake. Kukuku, Orochimaru couldn't help but chuckle. Despite the mask, he knew perfectly who was that man. Ah, my old guinea pig. It's good to see you again. I see that you're making a great use of my gift. Your gift resulted in the death of more than 50 children, monster. And that's just scratching the surface of your disgusting career. You have a lot to answer for, the ANBU captain retorted. The rest of the ANBU started to unsheath their swords. The captain made more hand seals, wood release, wood binding jutsu. More wooden branches emerged from the ground and wrapped around the Sannin as, ironically, snakes around their prey. At the same time, about half the ANBU jumped from their positions and landed near the Sannin with their weapons drawn. Still, Orochimaru looked undeterred. I guess that there's no way I can win against these odds, right? Orochimaru asked. The captain smirked behind his mask. You got it right. If that's the case, the best course of action will be a tactical retreat and try again under better odds. Farewell, and suddenly, Orochimaru melted into a puddle of mud, much to all the ANBU's frustration. The ANBU were about to chase him but the captain stopped them. Let him go. If we chase him now, he'll pick us off one by one. Let's go back and escort the refugees to a safe place. All the ANBU nodded, and followed their captain's orders. Hours later, the 9 Konoha ninja arrived at Konoha. The sight of the gates was truly a gift for their sore eyes. Kurenai couldn't help but let out an almost exaggerated sigh of relief. I never thought I'd be so happy to see the village, the red-eyed Jonin exhaustedly commented. First mission out of the village, and we run into freaking Orochimaru. I'm sure other ninja also had similar misfortunes during their first mission. Such is our life. Enko shrugged. And you three, Kurenai turned to cast murderous glares at her team. If I ever hear you complain again about doing D ranks, I'm going to use you as practice dummies for my A rank genjutsu, understood? While Hinata and Haku nodded and whimpered, Naruto wasn't deterred. Hey, we only wanted a little more excitement, none of us asked to fight against an S-rank ninja. Speaking of which. Shikamaru spoke up, while looking at his sensei. Asuma-sensei, did you know that we would face ninja of such caliber? Because this was the first time we also left the village as well. Asuma sighed, trying to suppress his guilt. Yes. But my intention was to keep you from the fights. Your job would have been to help the other genin escort the refugees, while Kurenai, Anko and myself did the heavy lifting. Of course, none of us were expecting that Orochimaru himself would show up. But all of us came out of that alive, and that's what it counts. Live today to continue kicking ass another day. Anko cheerfully added. Given who we actually had to fight, I wasn't expecting you to be so cheerful, Anko. Kurenai commented. Anko just shrugged. I already told you that I'm good at seeing the positive side of things. If I wasn't able to, I don't think I could ever get out of the bed every morning. That, and the thought that that bastard will pay someday, preferably at my hands. After crossing the gates, the genin were dismissed, while the adults headed to the Hokage Tower in order to report Jiraya the outcome of the mission. Senju residents, hey, I'm home. Naruto announced as he walked in. Mom? Shizu-nichan? Kaida? Hagane? Naruto, the orange-clad boy heard Tsunade's voice as she entered the living room. Oh, I'm so glad to see you back. Hee, it was nothing, Mom. I know that the mission kinda went south, but in the end everything came out fine. Naruto replied with a foxy grin. Tsunade sat in the couch and patted a spot near her, hinting Naruto to sit as well. Come on, this was your first mission out of the village, tell me everything. Okay. You see, after a day or so traveling, we arrived at this town that, Naruto's tale started harmless enough, but it quickly took a dark turn with the mention of Mizuki, the academy teacher who fled from Konoha the night of the Uchiha insurrection with the scroll of seals in tow. If that traitor was working for Orochimaru, then that meant that the fallen Sannin had the scroll in his possession as well. But that was nothing in comparison to what happened next. Wait, you said that Orochimaru personally went to fight you, the horror in Tsunade's voice could be heard. Yeah, but Kurenai-sensei, Asuma-sensei and Enko kept him at bay. By the way, he somehow had a Sharingan despite not being an Uchiha. But then again, Kakashi-sensei also has one. Orochimaru has what? Tsunade was close to hyperventilating. The fact that Naruto had survived this mission was a miracle. Calm down, Mom. I already told you that everything went fine in the end. The ANBU arrived in time to drive Orochimaru away and escort the refugees to a safe place. Yeah, sorry, it's that well, I was worried about you. This was the first time you left the village, and had to face one of the worst missing nin of the entire elemental nations. Tsunade forced herself to smile. But let's be thankful that both you and your teammates returned in one piece. I'm sure this won't happen the next time. Still, what you told me about the land of rice fields and Orochimaru was worrying, to say the least. Your father needs to take some action against this, or else this could blow up in our faces. Hokage's office meanwhile, Kurenai, Asuma and Enko just gave an oral report of the mission to Jiraya, which was more or less nearly identical in essence to what Naruto told Tsunade, only with far more details. So, not only Orochimaru managed to acquire the Sharingan, but has his own country now, the white-haired Sannin sighed heavily. Things can never go right for us just once. What are we going to do, Hokage-sama? Enko asked. In my opinion, we should deal with this problem before it gets worse. I doubt Orochimaru will be able to withstand an attack from our forces, especially if we ask Suna for some help. While I share your idea, it's not that easy, Jiraiya replied. Orochimaru might ask for other villages' help, arguing that we're abusing our superior military to stop an emerging village from developing, and it could devolve into a massive war. No. First we must show the world that Orochimaru is a global threat before we take any action against him. Enko cursed under her breath, but nodded in resignation. What do you suggest to do, then? For the time being, we will send a team of spies to gather information about this new village. Once we have enough information on our foe, we will discuss our next course of action, Jiraiya stated. Now, given the kind of mission you just came from, I believe you earned a few days off to rest. Come back for another mission once you feel your teams are at 100%. Yes, Hokage-sama, the three Jonin replied in unison, and left the office. Jiraiya got up from his chair, and looked through the window, pensive. So, the rumors were true. You created your own village. Alright Orochimaru, if you want a war between our villages, I'll be happy to oblige. Nothing will be more satisfying than beating you at your own game. Dad, can I ask you something? Naruto asked. Jiraiya turned at him absent-mindedly. The blonde Jinchuriki and the white-haired Hokage were resting under the shadow of a tree, after an hour or so of intense training. This time, Jiraiya had decided to come in person instead of sending a clone, and left Sarutobi to fill for him for the day, since there was something that he needed to do, something that a clone couldn't. What is your last name? The blonde asked. Why, Senju, of course. I thought you knew that, Jiraiya replied as if answering to something obvious. Naruto frowned in return. That's not what I mean, that's Mom's last name, he protested. I mean your last name before you married. Which, by the way, how is it that you got Mom's last name? In other couples, it's always the woman who gets the husband's last name. Is it because she's a Senju or something? Jiraiya chuckled. Yeah, you could say that, but it's actually way more simple. The reason I got her last name when we married is because I never had a last name to begin with. Naruto looked at him, eyes wide open in shock. What? And why not? You never knew about your family? Exactly. By the way, why this sudden interest in me, Naruto? I realize that I know a lot about Mom's family, mostly thanks to history books, but I know very little about yours," he explained, then he frowned again. "Besides, you almost never tell me anything about you." Jiraya shrugged. "You never asked. Besides, a man has to keep a little mystery, right?" he chuckled. "But then again, I didn't think my life before your birth was all that interesting." "How can you say that? You are one of the Sannin, and trained my biological father. Besides, I will judge if it's interesting or not," Naruto sharply stated. "Now why don't you have a last name?" Jiraiya cleared his throat to tell, in his opinion, the uninteresting tale of how he became a Konoha ninja. 50 years ago, the elemental nations were engaged in the first ninja war. Sarutobi, my sensei, as Tobirama's student, was part of the 7-man unit with the second leading it. There was this town whose name was lost to history, that Konoha ninja used to shelter and treat their wounded, before they were sent back to Konoha. So far, the Konoha ninja made a good job hiding their presence, but somehow, our enemies realized what Konoha was doing, and razed the village to the ground. When Sarutobi-sensei's unit went to the village as usual, they found nothing but scorched ruins, dead people, and a single survivor, a baby, not even a year old, with snow-white hair. Sensei took that baby, and brought him to Konoha, and he grew up in an orphanage. When that baby turned 5, he learned about what happened to the place he was born in, the parents he would never know, and how he was saved by ninja. And thus, he decided to become a ninja himself. "And that ninja was you, right?" Naruto excitedly asked. Jiraiya laughed in return. "I believe that was obvious from the very beginning, don't you think so? So yeah, now you know why I don't have a last name, at least until I married Tsunade. Though, like you said, even if I did have a last name, I don't think I would have the guts to make Tsunade discard her last name and adopt mine, given her family's importance, not only in Konoha, but in the ninja world as a whole. What about me? Maybe I should have been a Senju too," Naruto mentioned. "Hey, the Uzumaki used to be a very strong clan before Uzushiogekure's fall. Besides, we thought that you should have something that linked you to Minato and Kushina," Jiraiya replied. "Besides, I'm sure that in the future, you will make the name Uzumaki famous again." "And what about Dash, enough talking?" Jiraiya interrupted Naruto, as he stood up from his resting spot. "We already chatted and rested enough. Now it's time to work on a very important matter." Naruto stood up as well. "The Kyuubi." Jiraiya nodded. Flashback: a few minutes after Asuma, Kurenai and Enko left, somebody knocked the door of his office. After telling them to come in, the person in question was Kurenai. "Excuse me, Hokage-sama, but there's something that I need to discuss with you in private. While I do trust Asuma and Enko, I think this is something I should talk with you and you alone. At least for the time being," the red-eyed Jonin said. Jiraiya nodded, motioned her to take a seat, and made a hand seal. "The privacy seals are activated. Everything you say will never leave this room." Kurenai took a few moments to mentally prepare before explaining her problem. "You see, there was an unexpected incident during our mission." Jiraiya raised an eyebrow. "You mean another one?" "Yes, poor choice of words. Anyway, I'll get to the point. Shortly before we arrived at Sawa Town, we stopped at the Valley of the End, since I thought it would be good for the kids to see a place with so much historical importance. And while we were there, Naruto noticed that the Kyuubi was growing restless." Jiraiya was taken aback a little. "Come again?" It was as if the Kyuubi disliked the place. "I decided not to take any risks and leave as soon as possible and tell you about this once we were back in Konoha." "You did good, Kurenai. Don't worry, I'll check Naruto's seal to make sure that the Kyuubi isn't up to something and actually, I didn't finish." "Of course. There is always more, isn't it?" Jiraiya threw his hands in the air. "Okay, tell me." During the fight with Mizuki, Naruto tapped into the Nine Tails power. It wasn't enough to beat Mizuki, but it clearly changed him, and not for the better. Besides being more powerful, Naruto acted way more violent and reckless. Even feral, I should say. Jiraiya sighed, and leaned back on his chair. Yes, there was a chance that this could happen. The fourth used the four symbols seal since he wanted Naruto to use the power of the Kyuubi at some point in his life, otherwise he would have used another seal that would have completely isolated the beast from Naruto. This, however, had the downside that the Kyuubi has the ability to influence Naruto to some extent. According to what I could gather from other Jinchuriki, strong emotions are a good way to manifest the power of a tailed beast. If Naruto was angry with Mizuki for harming his friends, yes, it looked to be the case when I arrived at the fight, Kurenai confirmed. I did plan to train Naruto on how to use the power of the Kyuubi, Jiraiya mentioned. But I always kept leaving it for another time due to my fear of what could happen. Then the Uchiha revolt happened, and then I became Hokage, but I guess that I just can't keep putting this off any longer. By the way, I believe that I should have asked this the moment I became Naruto's sensei, but do you have any advice on what should I do if something like this happens again? Unless you're proficient with seal jutsu, or mind jutsu, I believe there's nothing you can do. But I will create a sealing tag that can suppress the Kyuubi's chakra, should Naruto ever lose control again. Good to hear that, Hokage-sama. Is there anything more you want to discuss with me? Kurenai shook her head. If that's the case, then you're dismissed. End flashback. Alright Naruto, let's get down to business. I've been putting this on hold for far too long, but we can't afford doing that anymore. Today, we will attempt to control the Nine Tails chakra, the Sannin announced. Naruto taken aback. Really? Are you sure? Given what your sensei told me, yes, we have no other options. Sensing his godson's worry, he added, don't worry, I already have taken countermeasures in case anything goes wrong. Okay, what do we do? Naruto asked. First of all, let's sit down in front of each other, the Toad Sage instructed while both he and Naruto sat down. Now what? Now, close your eyes. Breathe and exhale slowly. Relax every muscle in your body. Gather all the chakra you can, but don't force it, let it flow instead. Empty your head of thoughts. Once it's done, think on only one thing, the Nine Tails. Try to picture it inside your mind, and let your chakra drag you towards it. Jiraya's voice started to sound more and more distant. Naruto felt like he was falling asleep but while somehow still being awake. It was an almost surreal situation. And to add to the weirdness, Naruto noticed that he was standing up, even if he didn't remember getting up. Confused, he decided to open his eyes. Much to his shock, the Jinchuriki wasn't in Training Ground 3 anymore with Jiraiya, but in what appeared to be a massive sewer. The floor was completely damp, yet Naruto didn't feel any wetness on his feet. There was nothing remarkable about that place, other than an equally massive gate that looked like the door of a prison. Cautiously, Naruto approached the jail gate. The distance between the bars was big enough for Naruto to slip between them, but he didn't want to get inside the cell. As he got closer, he could hear something rumbling in the back of the cell, where there wasn't enough light for the blonde to see. Hello? The blonde timidly called. Is somebody there? Naruto's answer came in the form of a loud grumble, as well as a pair of red eyes glowing in the darkness, looking into his very soul. Oh. Look who finally came to pay me a visit. Naruto found the guttural voice vaguely familiar. Naruto gulped, and cleared his throat before speaking. Are you the Nine Tails? The occupant of the cell moved closer to the gate, and now Naruto could see a massive orange fox with multiple tails. Naruto didn't count them but he guessed there would be 9, and red eyes that glowed faintly. Your observational skills are worth praising, brat. I'm sure that you are considered a prodigy among your peers. Naruto could swear that the fox was mocking him. Still, he decided to ignore that jab, and get to the business at hand. I'll take that as a yes. What is this place? Naruto asked. Your tiny human mind would be unable to grasp the nature of this place that is my prison, but a very simplified description would be a pocket dimension created with your chakra that exists within you, the Kyuubi answered. A pocket dimension within me? Naruto dumbly echoed. True to the Kyuubi's words, his young mind didn't really understand those words. It didn't matter, he could ask Jiraya about it later. While I'm flattered that you decided to come to see me after being together for so many years, the fox's voice was oozing with sarcasm. Why are you here? Naruto gulped once again. He wanted to ask the Kyuubi to let him lend its power, but he didn't know how to approach the topic. The sight of the strongest tailed beast was just too much for him, even if he was protected by the giant gates. "Two wanted to thank you for helping me back in the land of the rice fields," Naruto began. "Maybe a little flattery would help." The Kyuubi snorted. "Keep your gratitude for someone who appreciates it, brat. My intentions were far from altruistic." Naruto titled his head, a bit puzzled. "And why did you lend me your power back then, if you didn't want to help me?" "It was of my interest for you to remain safe." While there was a certain truth to that statement, it wasn't the whole truth. "I helped you because my chakra will slowly erode the seal that keeps me imprisoned, and your strong emotions allow me to pump more chakra into your body," the Kyuubi thought, but he obviously wasn't going to tell that to his jailer. "I presume that you didn't come here just to thank me, am I right?" Naruto cursed inwardly. Were his intentions so predictable? And no. "Since you helped me that time, and you're interested in my safety, could you lend me your power in the future? It could save my life again." The Kyuubi did an admirable job containing its rage and maintaining his composure. Those words had hit all the wrong buttons. Even if fulfilling that request would accelerate the tailed beast's escape, his hatred and pride, which it had plenty to spare, got the best of it. Still, it would give Naruto a piece of its mind. "So, this is it, right? In the end, it always amounts to the same." "My power," the Kyuubi grumbled. "That's all what your bastard race wants. Power. Well, you know what? Forget about it. I won't be your slave anymore." "What do you mean by, anymore?" Naruto asked. "That's none of your business, brat. Now get lost." "Me get lost? You said that this place is made of my chakra, hence I own it, meaning that I decide who stays and who leaves." The Kyuubi snorted, and chuckled. "So you prefer if it's me who leaves?" "That, I can do. Open these gates, and you'll never see me again." "Har har, you must think yourself so clever, right?" Naruto placed his hands on his hips. "Even if I'd love to get rid of you forever, I'm not going to let you out and kill more innocent people. None of your loathsome race is innocent. And I'm doing the world a favor by getting rid of you and your race. You're nothing but a plague upon this world." Naruto sighed in defeat. "We're not getting anywhere. And you realized of that just now? Like I said before, you truly possess a privileged mind," the Kyuubi snarked. "Will you stop with the sarcasm? It's annoying," Naruto protested. "So are you. And riling you up is the only entertainment I had in decades, so humor me here. You know, I tried to be nice, but if you're going to be an ass and not cooperate with me then I'll take your chakra by force." "You what?" "Bwahaha. That's a good one," the Kyuubi laughed uproariously. "You're welcome to try anytime, brat. Dad told me other Jinchuriki can do that, so I don't know why I couldn't do it myself. And then we will see who's the one laughing. But for the time being, that one will be me," the Kyuubi retorted. "Now leave." Naruto was about to retort, but he felt the floor below his feet disappear, leaving nothing but an empty void. "Ah!" Naruto screamed at the top of his lungs while he fell to his apparent death. "Naruto, calm down. I'm here." The blonde opened his eyes, and realized that he was back in Konoha. Jiraya was in front of him, grabbing him by his shoulders, with a panicked expression plastered over the Sanin's face. Naruto asked, confused, as he slowly inspected his surroundings. Naruto, are you okay? A concerned Jiraya asked. Panting a bit, Naruto managed to articulate a sentence. What happened? I was going to ask you the same. I mean, you were sitting there doing what I was asking you to, then all of a sudden you starting yelling as if you were face to face with the fox itself. Because I was face to face with the fox. Naruto replied back. Jiraiya was taken aback. What? Did you see it for a second? No, I had a whole conversation with it, Naruto said, trying to sound unironic. Wait a minute, how much time passed since I was gone? None at all, was Jiraiya's answer. How did you manage to talk with the Nine Tails in less than a second? That's the weird thing, from my point of view, I was gone for quite some time. That's strange, but not impossible. We still know very little about the chakra-created artificial dimensions. Maybe time passes in a different way there, Jiraiya guessed. Like why everything sealed inside a scroll remains the same until it's unsealed? For example. So, tell me, did you find something during your talk with the Kyuubi? Jiraiya asked as he leaned forward. It's not that every day you could interact with a centuries-old demon. Yeah. That the Nine Tails is an asshole. Konoha Hospital. While Naruto had his less-than-friendly chat with his furry tenant, Hinata and Ino left the hospital after one of their lessons in medical ninjutsu with Tsunade. Thanks to the additional training they received from Shizune, Sakura and Karen progressed at a much faster pace than the rest of their classmates, and thus were moved to another class at another hour in which Tsunade taught them more advanced subjects and jutsu. And since Shino had left with the rest of his team on their first C-rank mission to Takigakure not long ago, that left only Hinata and Ino. Then again, none of them were complaining. That meant that Tsunade could focus entirely on the two of them, allowing them to progress at a faster rate, and in no point they'd be at the same level as Sakura and Karen. Or that's what Ino thought, until Hinata reminded her that Sakura and Karen also had Tsunade for themselves, plus Shizune as well. Man, this sucks. Then the gap between Forehead Girl and I will only get bigger and bigger. Just like her forehead. Ino protested. Well, that's because Sakura-san is focusing all her time and efforts into becoming a medic nin. We also have to master our clan's jutsu as well, Hinata observed. You have a point there, Ino conceded. But that doesn't make it suck any less. Just because Sakura-san surpasses us in a single field doesn't mean that she's a better kunoichi than us, not that Hinata minded much if Sakura became a better kunoichi than her. She wasn't a competitive person. I mean, we're still better than her at both taijutsu and ninjutsu, right? Once again, you make another good point, Ino replied. Hinata cleared her throat, and mentally prepared herself for her next question. She wasn't a busybody, but there was something about Ino and Sakura that got her curious, and this was a good chance to bring up the topic. Ino-san, I ask you something? It's a bit personal. Much to Hinata's confusion, Ino's mouth formed a huge grin. So you finally decided to tell Naruto about your feelings. And of course, you want some advice from me. Okay, listen carefully. The first thing you need to do it's not that. Hinata interrupted, blushing furiously. Even she was surprised on how much she raised her voice. I meant personal about you. Ino's grin disappeared, and was replaced by an expression of mild confusion. Oh sure, what do you want to know about me? It's about you and Sakura-san. Hinata noticed Ino's mood darkening. Still, she decided to keep going. I remember back in the academy that the two of you used to be inseparable, but then you drifted apart. What happened? Despite the question, Hinata already imagined the answer, but she thought that there was more to it than her mere conjectures. The Yamanaka heiress sighed, and smiled sadly at Hinata. Boy, people should be wary of you silent types. You make it look like you're not even there, but you see and listen to everything, don't you? Hinata smiled back at her. Those are the markings of a ninja, aren't they? A fair point. The third one in a row. You're on fire today, girl, Ino mentioned, chuckling, before her expression turned serious again. "Yeah, forehead girl and I used to be besties, as it's usually said. She used to be bullied because of that billboard of hers she calls a forehead, and let's say that I couldn't stand it, and defended her. That's how we met each other, and became friends. And what happened then? Both of us had a liking to one boy, you know who I'm talking about. Naturally, we couldn't be friends and love rivals at the same time, so it was inevitable that our friendship ended. But you don't like Sasuke-san anymore, right?" Exactly. Ino already guessed where Hinata was going. "But Sakura still does, and that's why we can't be friends again. This isn't a matter of a love fight anymore. She can't be my friend while pursuing somebody of the same clan who murdered my father. Ino-san, don't you think you're being unfair to him? Sasuke-san might be an Uchiha, but he didn't take part in the coup." Ino looked at Hinata with her eyes wide open in disbelief. "Hinata, how can you say that? I would never imagine that you, of all people, who also lost your father to the Uchiha, as well as many other clansmen, would defend Sasuke. It's that I don't think it's fair to judge him for what others did. His situation is too similar of that of Naruto-kun." "What do you mean?" "Naruto-kun holds the Kyuubi inside him, but a lot of people used to blame him for the destruction and death caused by the Kyuubi. Others think he'll turn evil due to the Kyuubi's influence, or that the Kyuubi will escape at any time, but none of what the Kyuubi did is Naruto-kun's fault." Ino averted her gaze. "I know what you're trying to say, but whenever I see Sasuke, when I see his clan crest, when I see a Sharingan, I can't help but remember that horrible night, and the news about Dad's death. It was the same for me too, Ino-san." Hinata placed a hand on the blonde's shoulder. "And I'm not saying that you should befriend Sasuke-san, just that you shouldn't judge him unfairly. I'll try, but don't expect me to be chummy with him or anything. And now that that's out of the way, do you think that there's a chance that Sakura and you might bury the hatchet?" Ino sighed. "It's not that easy, Hinata. There's still a lot of bad blood between us that will take some time to overcome. If we overcome it, be the way. Why are you so interested in my past friendship with Forehead Girl?" This time, it was Hinata who averted her gaze, as she started to twiddle her fingers. "Well, it's that before meeting Naruto-kun, I didn't have any friends, not even in my clan. And if for whatever reason Naruto-kun and I stopped being friends, I don't know what I would do. That's why I think that what happened between you two is really sad. You and Sakura-san had a great friendship, and it would be a pity to see it go like that." "I see, boy, it's really sad when you put it like that. Still, I don't think I would be able to walk to Sakura and ask her to forget about the past 5 or so years of non-stop mutual hostility," Ino replied. "Maybe Sakura-san feels the same as you do, that's a possibility, but for the time being, I'm not ready to take that step." Hinata looked at Ino, and smiled. "It's okay. I don't want to force you to do something that you don't want to do." Still, this little talk made me think. Ino looked at the sky, as if thinking of the future. "Well, I gotta go. Asuma-sensei will be mad if I'm not on time for our daily training." "It's okay, I also have some training to do as well. And next time, we will talk about something personal of your life." Despite sounding so menacing, Ino winked at Hinata. The Hyuga heiress knew all too well what the blonde girl was referring to. Takigakure Kakashi's animal squad had taken their first C-rank mission, to escort the young leader of Takigakure, Shibuki, back to his home village. So far, the journey happened without any incident, not even bandits attacked them, and the group of 5 arrived to the minor ninja village with their client untouched. After a job well done, Kakashi was ready to go back to Konoha, but his 3 genin begged him to let them stay in the village at least a day, so they could get to know it better, and maybe have the chance to meet ninja from another village, besides Shibuki, that is. It was a way to make up for the boringness of the mission. Not in the mood for arguing, Kakashi decided to indulge them this time around, seeing no harm in letting them spend one more day outside Konoha. The village of Takigakure was built around a river, surrounding a small delta on it. A massive tree grew in the middle of said delta, whose branches and leaves were so lush that they almost completely blocked the sky. Not even the giant trees of Konoha's training ground 44, the infamous Forest of Death, were so big. The surrounding trees acted like a natural barrier around the village. The only way to access it was through an underwater cave system whose entrance was behind a waterfall, hence the village's name. This made Takigakure the only one of the hidden ninja villages who was actually hidden. Then again, it took no time for the genin to regret their plea, since they found that there was almost nothing to do there. And then they regretted voicing their complaints, as Shibuki, with Kakashi's approval, assigned them a D-rank mission: pick up trash from the water. Can somebody explain to me how we ended up doing a D-rank mission? We asked Kakashi-sensei to do this mission so we could stop doing those menial tasks, Tamaki complained as she picked an empty can from the river's shore. I believe that this is a hidden punishment for our behavior, first for asking him to stay here longer, and then for complaining once we got our request, Shino guessed. Ugh, another one. I wish Kakashi-sensei wasn't such a walking enigma. With all his hidden tests and underlying messages and whatnot, Kiba sourly commented. I wish that man went straight to the point just once. Kiba would never forget their true genin test, taking a couple bells from Kakashi. The whole point of the test was to use teamwork, but since there were only 2 bells, that meant that one of the genin would go back to the academy, which in his opinion discouraged teamwork. In the end, they passed when Kakashi gave them a second chance, which of course was another hidden test, to see if Tamaki and Shino would share their food with Kiba, who ended up tied to a post when he tried to steal some of Kakashi's food, even when Kakashi forbade them to do so. Well, there's a reason he wears a mask, doesn't he? I think that guy likes to keep some mystery, Tamaki added. Besides, we are ninja. As Kakashi-sensei said, we need to see underneath the underneath. We can't expect him to give us all the answers. And Shino suddenly grew silent. Shino? Is there anything wrong? Tamaki asked. Don't you hear that? Nobody said anything so they could hear whatever Shino was hearing. Soon, Kiba and Tamaki heard a buzz. It sounded like a flying insect, except much louder, which meant that it was a huge insect. While Shino knew of quite a few giant insects already, all of them made a different noise when they flew. This was something Shino had never seen. The buzz is getting louder, which means it's coming in our direction. Nobody could be able to tell, given his usual stoicism, but Shino was really excited. A shadow quickly passed above them. They both looked upwards, and were surprised by what they saw. It wasn't an insect, but a girl. A girl with insect-like wings protruding from her back. The flying girl paid them no mind, and flew towards the giant tree in the middle of the lake. Again, nobody would be able to tell the difference, but Shino was speechless. What was that? Kiba asked. Shino? Tamaki asked, upon seeing his silent teammate staring into the direction the winged girl flew. Soon, it was obvious what was going through his head, and she knew what to do. Shino, if you want, you can go and find that girl. Kiba and I will do your part. Hey! Kiba wasn't kind to people speaking in his name, especially when it came to do additional work. Shino was snapped from his stupor. No, was his response. I would be a bad teammate and ninja if I left without doing my part of the job. While it is true that I wish to know more about that girl, I don't want to do it at your expense. What? Shino interested in a girl? That's new, Kiba smirked at the Aburame. If that's the case, I'm with Tamaki. Besides, we've been working for a couple hours and picked up most of the garbage. We can finish this without you. I see. Thank you then. I won't forget this, Shino said before leaving. Konoha, Training Ground 10 Team Asuma was resting under the shade of a tree after an intense training session with Asuma, which soon would resume. Choji was eating chips as usual, while Shikamaru looked at the clouds, and Ino filed her nails. Then, she suddenly perked up. Ino? Choji asked. My gossip senses are tingling, Ino stated. It feels almost like a boy we know developed a crush on a girl he just met. You can sense people's relationships? Shikamaru asked in disbelief. Troublesome. Scary is the word I'd use, Choji added, sharing his lazy teammate's disbelief. Back in Takigakure it took very little time for the Aburame's Kikai bugs to track the mysterious flying girl, who was now happily sitting on one of the tree's extremely large branches, doing nothing in particular. Shino studied the girl before approaching her. She was his age, more or less. She had mint green hair, tan skin, and orange eyes. She was wearing a short sleeveless white midriff shirt with fishnet armor underneath, long white armlets, and fishnet shorts with a short white apron skirt over it. She was wearing a Takigakure headband tied to her right arm, in a similar fashion to Shikamaru, which meant that she was one of the village's ninja. She was also carrying a red, cylindrical backpack. After some internal debate, Shino decided to make his presence known to the girl. "Hello," the Aburame laconically said as he walked towards her. The green-haired girl was a bit startled, then she looked at the approaching Konoha ninja and smiled. "Oh, hi. You aren't from here, are you? I don't remember seeing you before." "Your assumption is correct. My name is Shino Aburame, and I'm from Konoha. My team came here while escorting the leader of this village." In less than a second, the girl was now standing up in front of him with her hand stretched. "My name is Fu, and I'm from Taki, but you probably guessed that already, he he he." Shino shook her hand, and noticed that for having such a petite frame, the girl was rather strong. "Nice to meet you, Fu. By the way, not to be rude or anything, but this is my secret spot." "How did you find it?" the green-haired girl asked. "I saw you flying towards this place, and followed suit," Shino explained. "So, you saw a pretty girl, and decided to follow her like that? My, what a stalker you are." Fu joked, as she punched him in the shoulder. "I don't do that with every girl I see," Shino replied, a bit defensively. "Oh, so there was something special about me that caught your attention?" Fu asked, smiling at him. "Care to tell me what it is?" "It's your wings. And excuse me if I'm being too blunt, but could you show them to me?" "Oh, don't worry, it's okay, look." Fu turned around, and two long, insect-like green and orange wings sprouted from her hips, surprising Shino a bit. "So, what do you think?" Fu playfully asked while fluttering her wings a bit. "You can touch them if you want." "I prefer not," Shino awkwardly answered as he tried his hardest not to blush. "How did you get those wings?" Fu's wings disappeared. The girl suddenly lost all her cheerful attitude, grew a bit somber, and started rubbing her arm. I'd love to tell you but Shibuki told me not to tell anybody out of the village about my wings, sorry." "I see," Shino adjusted his shades. "Can you tell me at least if it's something anybody can learn? Maybe I can learn to do that on my own." Fu chuckled. "I don't think so, Shino. Let's say it's an unique ability of mine. So it's a bloodline limit. I understand then your leader's reservation about sharing those secrets with me. My apologies for asking." Fu started to smile again all of a sudden. "It's okay. You know, you're the first one who showed any interest in my wings, which is kind of nice." Fu's cheerfulness was back in full force as well. "I have an idea. I can give you a ride if you want. You don't appreciate how pretty Takigakure is unless you see it from a bird's eye view." "No, it's okay, I prefer if HEY." Before Shino could react, he found himself high in the air, with Fu's surprisingly strong arms grabbing him by his armpits. "I know a lot of people are a bit afraid the first time they fly, but trust me, you're going to enjoy this," Fu assured. Shino was too terrified to protest or even scream. Training Ground 8, Wind Release, Cyclone Shockwave. A tornado formed around Naruto, in a similar way to the Wind Release, Wind Wall, except that it also violently expanded outwards. Good job, Naruto, Kurenai praised. Keep working, and you'll increase the radius of effect with each try. The Jonin then turned at Hinata, who nodded and made several hand seals. Lightning release, thunderbolt. Hinata released a myriad of lightning bolt branches from her fingertips, hitting the ground, setting the grass on fire while scorching some land. Nice one, Hinata. See? Now you have another ranged attack in case you're unable to reach an enemy in close combat, Kurenai stated. Hinata merely nodded. Kurenai looked at the last of her genin, Haku. The ice release user nodded, and made several hand seals. Demonic illusion, ice prison. Kurenai allowed the genjutsu to affect her, and she found herself suddenly trapped inside a block of ice that simply left her head exposed. The genjutsu only lasted a few seconds before Haku himself dispelled it. So, how was it? The execution was almost flawless, but I can't help but wonder why you modified the original jutsu. Kurenai had taught Haku the tree-binding death, one of her most used genjutsu. Besides ice fitting me better, I believe it was a good way to confuse my enemies. Since I use ice jutsu, my enemies wouldn't be able to differentiate which ones are real and which ones are illusions. Kurenai nodded and smiled. Interesting reasoning, Haku. I applaud your inventiveness. Haku smiled back at her. I'm very glad to see how fast the three of you are progressing. I had my reservations at first, but now I believe that you're ready. Are ready for what, Kurenai-sensei? Hinata asked. A dangerous mission? Please let it be a dangerous mission. Naruto excitedly shouted. Kurenai just shook her head, and chuckled. Despite that close call with Orochimaru, Naruto still wanted more missions like that. Then again, Naruto didn't have to fight Orochimaru, that honor fell upon her and her friend's shoulders. Actually, better than that, Naruto. The Chunin exams are in less than 2 weeks, and if you pass them, you will be promoted to Chunin, the raven-haired sensei explained. Whoa, that's even better. That's what I said. Though in the end, the ultimate decision is yours, Kurenai looked at them. But you don't look like you want to miss this, am I right? Does that mean that our other classmates will be taking the exam as well? Hinata asked. Kurenai shrugged. That depends on their senseis, as well as themselves. If a Jonin sensei doesn't feel like their genin are ready, then he or she can ban them from taking the exam. And just like I told you, the genin themselves must feel that they're ready, or at least willing, to take the exam. As for myself, I'll recommend you when Hokage-sama calls for the meeting. Nighttime, Senju residence. It was a rare sight to see all 6 members of Naruto's adoptive family to have dinner at the same time, given that Jiraya and Tsunade were often missing due their duties as Hokage and chief medic of the Konoha hospital, respectively. But today wasn't one of those days. Which was perfect for Naruto, who wanted to announce his participation in the exams. Hey, Dad, Kurenai-sensei said that the Chunin exams are going to be soon, right? Naruto asked. Jiraiya nodded. Yeah. This time they will be held here, meaning that it's my responsibility to ensure that they go on without a hitch. Tsunade cleared her throat. Did Kurenai mention if she was going to recommend you? You can bet she did. Man, I can't wait for the exams to arrive, and I get to show people how strong I got since the academy. Naruto boasted. You graduated the academy 3 months ago. Don't be in over your head. Those exams are nothing compared to the ones you take in the academy. People actually die there, Tsunade sternly replied. Well, I have an S-rank mission under my belt, so I think I can handle it. Upon seeing Tsunade's scowl, Naruto added, but yeah, I'll be careful, Mom. I won't give you a reason to worry. Tsunade's scowl disappeared, and was replaced by a content smile. Then she realized of something, and turned to her apprentice. Shizune, what about your team? Are you going to recommend them? The black-haired woman nodded. The 3 of them are rather strong, and their teamwork has improved a lot since the time I became their sensei. Sakura and Karen don't bicker as much as they used to. Would you say that Sasuke is stronger than me? Naruto asked. Shizun looked at him and smiled. Well, it's hard to tell. Both of you are really strong, so I couldn't say unless I saw you fight against each other. That has an easy solution then. Tomorrow I'll challenge Sasuke to a fight. Jiraiya just shook his head. Naruto should stop obsessing about beating Sasuke. A rivalry can be a good motivator to improve oneself, but it shouldn't be the only one. Tsunade dryly laughed. Look who's talking. You were obsessed with beating both Orochimaru and I as long as we were teammates. Jiraiya shot Tsunade an unamused look. That was completely different, it was a matter of principle. Besides, in the end, I surpassed both of you. Tsunade dropped her fork, and looked at Jiraiya incredulously. Excuse me? When did that happen? I've always been, and still am, way stronger than you. Shizun was sweating bullets, as her eyes drifted back and forth between Tsunade and Jiraiya. She didn't like where this was going. If the two of them decided to fight, the house wouldn't survive. Do you want to put your money where your mouth is? Jiraiya challenged. Tsunade merely chuckled, and continued eating. I'd love to, but I don't want to humiliate you in front of the kids, so let's leave this for another moment, okay? We were having a nice dinner. Jiraiya decided not to press the issue further, but this in turn raised another question. He looked at his godson. Naruto, why are you so determined to beat Sasuke? Is it because he was the strongest of your classmates? Yeah, but it's not just that, Naruto began. It's the way he acted. All cool and hip, with that, you're all beneath me attitude. Well, Sasuke is a complicated kid. I don't think he means any harm. It's just his way to cope, Shizun interceded. It's obvious that losing most of his clan during the Uchiha insurrection affected him deeply, and the way some people treat him for being an Uchiha doesn't help matters. But we're working on that. He simply needs a positive influence in his life. Well, Hinata lost her dad that night too, and she doesn't act like Sasuke. Naruto protested, crossing his arms. Naruto-kun, everyone has a different way to cope with loss and tragedy, and it's unfair to expect everybody to react the same way to such events, Shizun countered. At least it wouldn't be so bad if all the girls didn't act like he's the most interesting guy in the world. Tsunade leaned forward, and smiled mischievously. Oh, so that's what this is about? Is there a girl you like who has a crush on Sasuke? Naruto almost choked on his food. What? Of course not. Naruto then turned a bit red and averted his gaze. But you know, it would be nice to be as popular with the girls as Sasuke is. I mean, almost every girl worships the ground he walks on, and he hardly cares. Naruto and I-san, what about Hinata-chan? She's really cute, Kaida piped in. Yeah, and she doesn't drool over Sasuke, Hagane added. What? Naruto barked in shock, blushing furiously. But Hinata's my friend. Oh, look at him, getting all red. Tsunade teasingly said. The twins started to sing. Naruto and Hinata, sitting on a tree. As much as Jiraiya wanted to join in the fun, he decided to cut Naruto some slack. Let's change the topic, okay? We're making the kid feel uncomfortable. I know that girls are a delicate issue, especially given the age you're in. What's wrong with my age? Nothing. But you and I will have an important talk soon. Don't worry, it's nothing bad, Jiraiya smiled impishly. Naruto just raised an eyebrow. Taki, next morning Kakashi's animal squad was ready to return to Konoha. The copy ninja had to admit that, in hindsight, it was a good thing that they decided to stay. Turns out that a Taki renegade jonin named Suein, helped by several missing nin, were about to steal the village's famous hero water, an elixir that dramatically increases the power of those who drank it, albeit with a potentially fatal cost. Kiba, Shino, and Tamaki managed to stop Sueon's minions from kidnapping several civilians to use as hostages in exchange of the hero water, while Kakashi and Shibuki dealt with Sueon himself. The Taki missing Nin fell under the power of Kakashi's lightning blade. "Thank you, all of you. You helped my village far more than what I had asked of from you," Shibuki said as he shook Kakashi's hand. No need to thank us. We were in the right place at the right time," Kakashi replied, rubbing the back of his neck. "Besides, there's no way a single, unimposing man, as Sueon with a bunch of followers would be able to threaten a whole ninja village." While Kakashi and Shibuki talked, Fu was saying goodbye to the Konoha genin. "It's a pity you guys have to leave so soon. I'd love to get to know you better," Fu said, pouting a bit. "Shibuki doesn't let me out of the village since it's dangerous, and there are almost no kids my age here. This village is small, you know." "It's okay, you can always write," Tamaki suggested. "Or we can just come to pay you a visit. Taki isn't that far away from Konoha," Kiba added. "Like my friends and teammates said, we will do our best to keep contact," Shino finished. Fu then pulled the three of them into a bone-crushing hug. "Ah, you guys are awesome," the green-haired girl cooed. Then, she whispered into Shino's ear. "Though, we might see each other sooner than you think, hee. Konoha, Hokage's office. Jiraya was at his office. This time it was really him, not a clone, doing the usual paperwork, when somebody entered the room. Turned out it was Sarutobi. He looked mildly worried, as he was holding a small scroll in his hand. He stopped what he was doing and nodded his former sensei to speak. "Jiraya, we got a message," Sarutobi began. "From Kyumo." The Sanin's curiosity spiked. He hasn't heard from that village ever since the Hyuga affair 9 years ago. He wondered what they wanted this time. "What is it, sensei?" "It's about the Chunin exams. Kyumo is going to send several teams to undertake the exam here." Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and subscribe for more content. Support the original author by clicking their profile link in the pinned comment of the first video of this series. They deserve the love. Want early access and exclusive content? Join my Patreon community, link below. Your support fuels these videos. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next video. Stay entertained. Stay safe.